weeks. 2 weeks.
Got it.
It's episode 335, February 7th, 2022 on Canadian Patriot Podcast. This is John McDonald with Music and the Truth Until Dawn. Right now, I've got a few words for some of our brothers and sisters in Ottawa. The chair is against the wall. John has no fuel. It's 9 o'clock Canadian, another day closer to victory. And for all of you out there on or behind the line, in post, I will add your song.
And we'd love to hear your honk and feedback about the show. So please visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com/feedback or email us at feedback@CanadianPatriotPodcast.com.
We need your help to support the Canadian Patriot Podcast. Visit patreon.com/CPP and become a Patreon. You can get a better quality version of the show for just $1 per episode. Show you're not a communist. Buy a CPP t-shirt for just $24.99 plus shipping and theft. Visit CanadianPatriotPodcast.com homepage and follow the link on the right.
That brings us to my favorite segment. It's called Plausible Deniability. It's where I go clockwise on my screen and ask my co-conspirators what they're drinking. We'll start with Pierre. Pierre, what are you drinking?
As per usual, 40 Creek.
Solid. Dave?
We're drinking some Keats tonight, left over from the weekend. Cheers.
Peter, what did they have out west today?
I've got some Wayne Gretzky whiskey and ginger.
Right on. And I'm a terrible host. I should have probably let Liz go first. Liz is new to the panel and identifies as a not male person. I don't know. I don't want to assume genders here. I feel like we should have let ladies go first, but I went clockwise like normal.
That's
I'm
very
insulted I went first.
Yeah, that's extremely awkward.
$20 though, Pierre. $20.
Yeah.
All right.
Extremely awkward and delightfully woke of you. I identify as a woman, so you can.
Well, I didn't want to assume. You're supposed to ask people every day in case it changes.
Every hour.
It's punishable by firing squad if you don't ask.
Yeah.
Oh,
So, Liz, welcome. What are you drinking?
thank you. In my trusty "Don't Be a Dick" cup, I have some scotch and coffee.
All right. Scotch and coffee. I like it. Staying awake and getting loaded. Gavin, what are you drinking?
Unlike you on the ice.
The old standby for right now, at least for the next, maybe podcast or two, because the bottle's almost empty, but Wiser's and Diet Pepsi.
Well, you know, Pepsi will be at the grocery store again whenever the trucks get rolling, so you'll be okay.
Yeah.
I've got, oh boy, Dave. Oh boy. I've got Black Swan Porter. Is it Porter? Remind everybody to be doing their Patriot Challenge. 5 things every day. Be a better person. Exercise for 45 minutes. Practice a skill for 10 minutes. Read a book for 15 minutes. Drink your 2 liters of water. And then your scotch and coffee or Wiser's or Case or Porter or... What did I miss? Wayne Gretzky?
Whiskey.
Gretzky and ginger?
Yeah.
Whiskey.
Whiskey. Drink whiskey. I like it. That works. Complete one task to improve your life. And if you're using social media, grab the template, share it with your friends or with your enemies. National Range Day. CCFR is organizing an event June the 4th. Go talk to your gun club and sort yourselves out. Organize a shooting event.
Legal shooting event.
Yes.
Well, I mean, that was implied, yes.
I'm just making sure. These days, you got to spell things out for people. Yeah.
Compelling argument.
So you can't do it at Finch and Young in Toronto?
No, probably not.
Okay.
I'm going to discourage holding the National Range Day in a large urban center.
Yeah.
I'm going to say go to a range or safe shooting place, not...
It's discouraged.
Yeah, discouraged. If you're looking for ways to get your... Pierre is going to get muted. If you're looking for ways to get your exercise in, New Shooter Canada has delicately placed the gauntlet in front of us for the rucking challenge. Week 3 this week. 90 minutes of rucking. So I hope everybody is getting their exercise in.
Yeah. And you can also hear us talk more about it, obviously, in previous episodes of this show. But Andrew and I did a guest on the copycat CPP and talked all about rucking once again. So,
Because if you haven't heard me talk about rucking for 90 minutes before, You could hear me talk about rucking for 90 minutes again.
Yeah.
Always a good time.
Yes. And if rucking lasts longer than 90 minutes, please consult Andrew.
$20.
Or wait till 3 weeks from now.
If you're not
Yeah.
back in 5 minutes, just walk longer.
Yeah.
All right. So we have lots of people that have gone and done lots of exciting things in the last couple of weeks. The big news is the Freedom Convoy.
Honk, honk.
I mean, it does seem like the most appropriate reaction to Clown World.
Yeah.
Honk, honk.
Yes. The honking will continue
Honk-
until
honking
government
it
improves.
till freedom
I'm not
improves.
sure. I don't know where to even start with this. It has been a busy week.
Well,
Yeah.
Should we start
mean-
with a kind of an overall recap?
It's probably a good
I think
idea.
that's a great idea. I remember when they started rolling to Ottawa and they were going to get there last Saturday, the 29th of
Seventh.
January, Sunday, the 29th of January, something like that.
yeah, something like that.
Yeah.
So it's
So-
been just a hair over a week that they've been in Ottawa protesting, and there have been people drive to Ottawa from all over, and the mainstream media has been lying horribly about it, starting with the beginning in Vancouver when they said the truckers were protesting dangerous winter road conditions.
And potholes.
Yeah. Yeah.
Potholes.
Is that what we're calling them now?
That's what Canadians are really worried about.
Yes.
Well, I think potholes is just another word for politicians, isn't it?
Well, that's what I was
That's what he
kind of
said.
getting at. Is that
If any trucking province should complain about potholes, it should be the Quebec truckers.
no
I
one
don't
will
know.
understand what they're complaining
I'll
about?
fight that.
Yeah.
You have not been to Barton Street in Hamilton for worst
Also
road
true.
ever. Worst
Not
road
wrong.
ever.
Coincidentally, Dave, that is
Mhm.
actually where my experience with this whole thing started.
Did-
I
did-
went to the Hamilton send them
Gathering.
off rally,
Mhm.
which was just down on Barton Street. I didn't expect a whole lot because I've been to some other protests and everything else, and the turnout's usually fairly low T and just meh. It's good that people showed up, and and I definitely thought this was one of those things that well, the numbers are going to be low and it's going to be super low T if no one shows up. So I should probably do that even though it's a Thursday morning. So my girlfriend and I made sure to go down expecting, maybe a couple hundred people. There were thousands of people there. It was amazing. And that was just 9 o'clock in the morning and it hadn't even really started yet. And it just kept getting bigger. And it was going from Niagara to Hamilton to Vaughan Mills to the 401 to Ottawa. So not even the main convoy. This was one of the feeder convoys, and thousands of people there to the point where they were coming from Niagara, going to do a quick loop through Hamilton and get back on the highway. And the cops had basically said, this isn't happening. You are going to fuck up all of the traffic in the city. So you cannot get off the highway. So everyone moved.
Is that
from the
not the idea?
location
Did they not get the memo?
Yeah,
Was that
apparently
Sounds
only
like a cop thing to do.
yeah, only lefties can make people uncomfortable when you protest. So everyone caught wind of this. So we all moved to the highway on and off ramp so that we could wave at the truckers as they went under the thing. And it just ended up clogging up things even more than being on this side street. But I mean, yeah, thousands of people there waving flags, smiling, lots and lots of fuck Trudeau flags. It was amazing. But yeah,
I
That's
didn't
really
realize that-
shocking for Hamilton.
I didn't realize how many fuck Trudeau flags there were out there. It's really nice
a
to
lot.
see. There-
Yeah,
There's a lot.
lot.
A
Yeah.
lot.
But yeah, I mean, that
I'm
was
liking it.
way more people than I thought would be there for this, which was kind of just the start of it all, right? It was awesome.
Yeah, I went to the center of Canada when they came through Manitoba. So
I
the
thought he was talking about Toronto.
That's
No,
center of
that's
the
the-
universe.
Sorry, the
Yeah.
longitudinal center of Canada. I love
Yeah.
screwing up that word.
He didn't say butthole.
Well
And,
said, Pierre. Well
same
said.
thing. Same thing. I was kind of expecting, 100 people, something like that, just because it's kind of a landmark area. There's also a town named Landmark really close. But there was probably 2,000 people lining the highway both sides, whether it was eastbound or westbound. The second biggest Canadian flag I've ever seen till this weekend. And up on a tow truck, just right in the middle of the intersection, there was kids. It was minus 25 degrees outside plus wind chill, and there was so many people there just hooting and hollering, having a good time and supporting the truckers. It was great. And my kids got cold because it was cold. And so we left a little bit early. So the convoy had only gone, I don't know, maybe 20 minutes they'd been coming through. And so we headed west on the number one, just so we could kind of see how far it would go. And by the time we got to Winnipeg, we still hadn't found the end of it. And so we went around the perimeter kind of chasing the line up, and it went on for miles and miles and miles. If we had sat there and watched the whole thing, it would have been at least 2 hours. It was incredible.
Yeah, I still am trying to get like a handle on like actually how many trucks are there and that were in the convoy, because like you can't get a clear picture from obviously from any of the media, and
What?
you know cell phone cameras are only giving us like, you know, small parts of the full picture. So I think, yeah, it would be really nice to see like an overhead view maybe of the city or something, see exactly how many trucks are lining the streets there. It'd be pretty sweet.
Well, there were plenty of people I know in Manitoba for sure that plenty of people that I know that joined in Headingley on the west side of Winnipeg and went to like Richer, Falcon, or Kenora, and then turned around and came home. So they joined it for the day,
For a
but that was
stretch,
pretty
yeah.
much it, right? Because they
Okay.
couldn't take time off. So it makes the convoy bigger, but how much of that is
Made it to
going all the way to
Ottawa, yeah.
Ottawa? So
Yeah.
it was really hard to get numbers, but I mean that's not a large part of the convoy. I mean, we've seen how many people are there now.
Yeah, I mean, and you know, we had to kind of do the same. Like I had to get to work and everything, so we went for a little to support it, send them off. But like coming back, going across like the QEW over that bridge in Hamilton and all that, like we drove right past the convoy. And the amazing thing is that like it did not fuck up traffic at all. They were all keeping in the
Why
slow
would it?
lane. Well, and that's the thing. Like everyone's painting these guys as, you know, dickheads and racists and everything, but it's like here they are in a convoy that you think is going to screw everything up. That was probably the best that the traffic in that area has ever ran, because they're all just in the slow lane. They're all just going there. I mean, we passed a good number of trucks. And the cool thing was all the way from Hamilton to like the far east side of Mississauga, on every overpass, there were people. Now, a couple of them had like maybe 2 or 3 or 4, but that would be because the one before that probably had 1,000, you know, like all the way. And that was just awesome.
That was mind blowing to watch that, to see all of the leading up to the arrival in Ottawa, all the overpasses, all the highway on ramps, everything, constantly seeing on people's social media, not what they're showing in the CBC, not what was in the mainstream media. CB24,
yeah.
CP, thank you,
yeah,
CP24. When they were like, yeah, we're going to talk about the weather now, and they just ignored like the 5 minutes of people walking by their buildings, like
Yeah.
wherever they are downtown Toronto, like on Yonge Street.
I mean, I've been on the highway when, you know, like a soldier has been returning in a not so living state, and they've done the whole Highway of Heroes thing, and it's awesome, right? And there's people everywhere doing the same thing, and not that those people don't deserve all of the respect that they got, but there were more people on these overpasses for these truckers than I have ever seen on any of these Highway of Heroes things.
Well, so like I am blown away by the amount of people there, because if this was about potholes or the weather in Vancouver, we wouldn't be seeing this kind of turnout. And if the government was being honest
in
about
other parts of the world are not pissed off about potholes.
Well, this is only this is because a small minority of truckers are not able to do cross-border.
Fringe minority.
A fringe minority of truckers are not able to cross the border in order to complete their job. Why are there tens of thousands of people across the country showing up for this?
Like we were in London
the numbers
for
do
5
not.
hours.
The numbers do not make sense.
Mm-hmm. Like I said, now it's almost to a point where he doesn't want to go back on it out of spite. just because he sees how much power and hope and happiness people are getting from this that he can't possibly let it happen. You know what I mean? Trudeau, I'm referring to. Here.
I mean, maybe, but I think the other part of that is just their own cognitive dissonance of the way the world works. I mean, Trudeau and the politicians, and like just generally, they've been saying the same thing that they likely in a large number of cases believe, whether it's true or not, but they believe it's true, which is close enough. So in order for them to admit that they were wrong, I mean, that would be earth-shattering. Have you ever known a politician to admit that they were mistaken?
No. And even when like they start gaining some momentum with the rallies and all of the things, like if you look at O'Toole before he like steps down, he doesn't go like, yay convoy, like I support them. He just says, well, maybe the prime minister shouldn't shit talk them, right? Like he doesn't support them, but he says, don't bash them, right? It's a very political move, right?
Well, he's a politician, and I have
Everybody had enough of his pandering. Even his own caucus had enough of his pandering. Told him to get the fuck out.
It was like 2/3 of his caucus that voted him out. That's a huge amount. That's a huge amount.
He's been an absolutely awful opposition leader. What has he been in opposition to?
He's fucking 10-ply, bud. 10-ply.
I mean, I guess he's been opposition to everything that he ran on because he's flip-flopped on it.
Mm-hmm. I haven't seen that guy take one solid standing, like in our best interest, the people that freaking voted for him, his entire time that he's been leading the caucus. Not once.
No, that's not true, Dave. We saw one right at the end when he stepped down. That was the best thing he's ever done in our interest.
Facts. That's fair. But Thursday was awesome. I made sure to get out and do some road tests on some trucks so I could pull the horn, do some honking under some highways, because there was people pretty much at every overpass. So it was a lot of fun. It's great to see everybody and all the flags flying. I haven't really witnessed anything with that with my own two eyes, not since maybe Canada won the gold in 2010, maybe something like that. Yeah, that's about it. And that wasn't even close to this.
I don't really do sports references. I'm sure it was an amazing thing in 2010, but I know that London. I'll take word for it. Sure. Okay. But yeah, London was the same way. We were out there for like 5 hours and every overpass in London was full. Full. It was like earth shattering. It was amazing.
I mean, you'd think that like his advisors, like for Trudeau, would be like, ostracizing and saying these things is not really going to be doing you any favors. There's a lot of support saying, you should probably just maybe talk with them or whatever. But
the support part is, I'm really struggling with this, because if we're taking the government to be even remotely close in their reports and what the media is parroting, they have a 80% compliance rate, something like that, of adults in the country that have received their multiple doses of their COVID inoculations.
Forget the vax.
So why are what are we having all of these protests about if it's not about the way that government has been treating us? So if you have an 80% compliance rate, are you telling me like literally everyone who has not been complying with the government all got together on the same day and decided to like put up a big middle finger?
Yeah.
I find this suspect even.
I feel like your 20% is a little skewed.
I mean, they assume that
I
we
wonder
all
how
go
much
to
of
the
it
same
is
meetings anyways to begin with, so it's easy for us to organize something on this scale.
Well, I wonder how much of this is actually people that are just finally realizing that maybe the government doesn't have their best interest at heart.
It only took 2 years, but no.
Well, just 2 more weeks to flatten the curve. And I think part of this is that people are seeing other people out protesting, and they're taking that as permission that it's okay that they have this radical fringe view, and it's okay to be mad at the government for how they've treated everyone for the last 2 years and closed small businesses and destroyed restaurants and destroyed
gyms and everything.
Well, destroyed people's lives, and we've had the ridiculous increase in drug abuse and suicides and mental health problems, and we have
domestics.
Nothing to show for it.
Saving 0.2% of that's all the lockdowns did, was it gave us an extra 0.2% of people not dying.
Which I mean, I guess
Study after
that's not
study is
a
coming out of
terrible
Johns
thing,
Hopkins.
But
I don't.
what about all the people that died because they didn't get the cancer
Well,
screening that they needed, or they
That's the
got
part
hooked
that I'm
on,
a bit more
like,
concerned about is the mismanagement that the government has been involved in the last 2 years, and the billions of dollars that we've added in inflation and the hundreds of millions of dollars that we've given to pharmaceutical companies, and we're no closer to finding a way to continue on with living our lives in some sort of semblance of
no,
normalcy.
I think we figured out a way to continue on in a very good semblance of normalcy.
But the honking, Gavin, the honking.
Great
It's
honking.
inconveniencing me, and I can't sleep.
This is
Well,
this is
and
the thing
can
that
I
love.
guess, like, the people in Ottawa that are inconvenienced and upset about the honking
Need to get
have
fucked.
have they not been inconvenienced and upset by the government for the last like 2 years?
2 years, yeah.
Like
Well,
not being
that's-
able to go to the gym, not being able to go to sporting events, not being
and
able to go out and
honestly,
see their families, not being
I
able to
think
have Christmas. Like,
I think the majority of the Ottawa people probably are on it, but the ones that we are seeing in the media that is getting
no,
the
it's
microphone put in their
100%.
face.
Like that guy in the blue jacket and the balaclava.
Oh, yeah,
that's
yeah.
just freaking out.
Yeah, because there was a Tim Hortons manager. He's like, our washrooms have never been this clean in the 5 years I've been the manager at this Tim Hortons, because the truckers come in there every morning, clean it out, mop it, put fresh paper in there, and make sure it's good for the
And this
day.
is the
He's
thing
like,
that
that's
I've been-
never happened in 5 years.
I've been loving the weird, all these politicians and people complaining that this thing needs to end because it is ruining businesses and shutting them down, and it's like,
yeah,
you
welcome
shut
to
them
the
down for 2
Welcome to the
fucking years.
rest of
Like,
Canada, sir. The rest of
Yeah.
Canada.
2 fucking years. You've been the one responsible. What's 10 more fucking days?
It's funny actually that you say that, because I got somehow roped into a radio interview with CBC London radio, and that was the question that they had. They're like, oh, these citizens, these Ottawa citizens, or what about them? They can't go to work. They can't do all these things. And I just put it back to them. I was like, who are you talking to? Like, everybody that I've talked to is like, this is the best business I've had in 2 years. Like,
Yeah.
I don't know who it is that these folks are, parroting it
Referring
from.
to.
Yeah. But Andrew, like you were saying, people honestly believe what the government is telling them, like to the core of their being. They
I think a
believe.
lot of people are bought in on this, and that's why they're going and signing up for their fourth booster shot, because the first 3 have been so effective at stopping COVID. The fourth one will definitely help.
Well, and
Bro,
that's
the
why
Kool-Aid's
Kool-Aid's
they're
difference.
delicious, man.
Yeah.
Best Kool-Aid
I'm-
ever.
Jim
But that's
Jones
why
may not
they're
have been completely
comfortable.
wrong about that, bro.
But that's why they're comfortable missing Christmas, right?
Mm.
Because they think they're doing it at some
Well, and
righteous.
I think, yes,
idea.
that vein,
No?
that they think that they are doing something righteous because for the first time in their insignificant lives, they are able to make a difference. They are literally saving lives by staying home and wearing a mask and taking experimental drugs. And for the first time in their lives, that is providing value, because they have never been able to do that in the history of their latte sipping lives. They have never provided to
Yes.
society in a meaningful, beneficial way.
We need to clarify. They're soy lattes.
Sorry, I thought that
Right.
was implied.
Yeah.
Yes.
No.
Just you never know. As much as we
Right.
hate mail, we don't.
Anyone could be
yeah.
listening to the first time for the. Yes, that's
Yeah.
true.
Yes.
I
On
will come
any
at it from
podcast.
another side. Whether these people fall in the same group, it's kind of the big thing I'm seeing, because I'm trying to talk every day with everybody at work, trying to wake people up and get them to see what's going on around them, and just the simple thing. And everybody I talk to, it's like, yeah, my parents, they watch CP24 all day long. And it's like, that's the first
Stuff-
fucking problem. You need to
That
turn
stuff
that
drives me
shit
nuts. You got
off.
to turn that off. Start
It's-
listening to
it's-
our
it's pure
podcast.
brainwashing,
We're
though.
way more
They
entertaining.
actually believe
Yeah.
everything they say. They're
But this
they
is-
have
this is-
their best interest
so
with
you,
them, and
you
that
said
they
people's
don't
parents,
lie.
and this is
Yeah.
part of the problem. Is there's this TV race of people between boomers and Xers that grew up believing everything the TV told them to, and they've never had to think critically about the information being presented to them. It's just passively consume the same soundbite on repeat all day, and then parrot it back to the people in your lunchroom. Right?
Well,
That's
the ridiculous thing. So, yes, the media and all of these things are absolutely insane and
Prov,
out to lunch. And it's the fact that on this panel here right now, we've got 1, 2, 3, like 4, 5 of the 6 people have actually participated and were there on site.
Okay, because I was like, we're 6 in case you
I'm
forgot.
feeling like I'm getting a little bit called out here, but all right.
No,
go
no,
on.
no. I'm just saying. No, but like,
How does that make you
On-
feel, Andrew? How
on
are your feelings?
blast.
Feeling?
we've all got
Pretty
like,
good.
Talk about our
busy
feelings.
lives and
Last
everything,
weekend I got
but-
super
but-
drunk
but-
and went ice fishing, and this weekend my son turned 4. So I mean, overall, I'm feeling pretty good
Yeah.
about the whole thing.
And like we've all
Yeah.
got lives. and
Even
so
caught a
not-
fish he wasn't present for.
not calling him out, but I'm just saying that 5 of the 6 of us went and were actually there and are reporting things that actually happened that we saw with our own eyes.
No, pretty
How
sure
many
you're a white
articles-
supremacist Nazi that's making up things. You're
Yeah,
lying.
but that doesn't mean that I wasn't there and that I didn't see it. I'm
Yeah,
not being
but still
factual.
pretty sure you're lying.
But
somebody
we
wanted
also
to
have the videos proof.
Like, how
Suddenly
many, of
Pierre is
these,
incredibly French and or Ukrainian.
how many of these reporters
Yeah.
that are reporting for like
Yeah.
mainstream media weren't even actually there and they're just writing based on whatever they
Well,
were able to see
I
from
mean, how
some-
much of this is just the same 4 stories off the AP being recycled?
Well, exactly, and was the
Right,
guy
so-
that even wrote that, or girl, or whatever they identify as, that wrote that,
Non-gender conforming,
not
pink-haired,
even there, and was just
problem
like,
glasses wearing, soy
Yeah.
latte sipping.
oh yeah, they definitely have a denim vest.
Soy
buttons on it.
latte thing. That's
Yeah.
the new term. Yeah. Right.
Okay.
So like, I mean, I was in Ottawa on Saturday once we heard the GoFundMe was getting yanked because
We
of
should
whatever.
talk about the GoFundMe nonsense.
Yeah,
Yes,
You
that
can
was-
tell your Ottawa story, but we should
It is
circle
content.
back to that.
We definitely
item.
should.
yeah.
So yeah, so once I heard, so I'm 100% in support of everything of the Hong Kong train. I'm all up for it, but I really hate crowds. And
Yeah, I'm not
like,
down with people.
like 90% of people I meet, I'm like really, I try and avoid crowds.
Try and talk to you
Everything.
and stuff.
Yeah, or they're just them in general. So I was like, I'm all up for everything they're doing, and you know, we sold shirts, we donated the money. That's my contribution to it. I was like, I really hate going downtown. Second, we heard about GoFundMe getting canceled. I said, no. Right? It was what, late Friday night when we heard that. I started looking around the house for anything we got. We went downtown with a full bag of stuff. Someone else we know that I went downtown with on the Saturday, they brought everything, a bunch of stuff over. We had 2 full bags of soups, hand warmers, toe warmers, you know, stuff. We went and bought socks. I was like, look, like they're screwing us out of the donations we did for everything. So I said, fine, we'll buy stuff. And we went downtown. It was nice. It was cold as hell, don't get me wrong. But it was a peaceful protest. Lots of people everywhere. Nobody was rude. Lots of signs. No garbage. Everybody was doing anything possible to be nice to each other. And it was just nice, other than like the crazy amount of peoples that I don't like.
So the CBC told me that this was a very small, poorly attended protest with a few hundred supporters. Are you trying to tell me that that's not an accurate assessment of the situation?
I think they forgot a few zeros.
So, but that's the thing, right? Like, so so we had to park a little bit away from downtown. Like we were still downtown, but we had to walk a little bit. And we went, and out of that whole thing, I saw one video camera and a sort of reporter that was filming something where the rave was happening. You know, people celebrating, saying, hey, we're here, you know, no mask, people dancing, enjoying, being respectful. But I saw one news reporter, and we walked through a whole bunch of stuff. Like I said, I didn't walk the whole thing. I wasn't downtown for a crazy amount of time because of the peoples. But you know, we saw one person, and it looked like it was a Montreal news outlet, and it looked like there was a lot of Quebec flags on the back of those trucks. So I don't know, but I didn't see any news. I saw lots of cops, and I saw lots of people really enjoying just kind of getting back to normal. right? Like best way I could describe it was Canada Day downtown Ottawa. That's what it was, right? With a lot more vehicles, but
So
the
you're
vehicles
saying
kind
there
of
was
made
a,
up.
like distinct lack of like racism and name calling and goose stepping. So all of the things the CBC told me was going on.
So that all depends. How many soy lattes do you have a day?
Like 0.
Then yes, they lied to you crazy. But if you had
Oh.
like, I would say upwards of more than 0, then I'm the racist. But that's up for debate.
It's okay. According to them, I'm a misogynist. So go figure that one out.
Well, hey,
I'm all
everyone
up for
is whatever
everybody
they
likes a
identify
massage.
as. Yeah.
I don't mind a massage. I have benefits
That's
through my
not
work.
what that means.
Oh, okay.
No, I mean, I'd say like the Toronto and the Hamilton experience are the same. Like the Toronto one was, I mean, it felt like you were at like a big festival or a fair or something. Like everyone's there having a good time. This is the first time I've been around that many people in 2 years, and everyone's having a good time. Everyone's smiling. There were people of all backgrounds, and like everyone was out there with their whatever nationality they were before they were Canadian flag and Canadian flags, and there were all kinds of Christians out handing out free Bibles and going on about how God's what they're going to save, and then there was a bunch of Jews that were out, and then there's a bunch of Sikhs that were out. So like all races, all religions, all coming together as one. The truckers have done more to unify this country in 10 days than Trudeau has done in the 6 years that he has been in power. Or, you know what? I'll even say in his entire fucking life.
So you're saying he has been an incredibly effective prime minister?
Yes. Absolutely 100%. He is as effective as a prime minister as the vaccine is at preventing COVID-19.
That's incredibly effective.
It depends on who you ask, right?
Yeah, well,
Or when you ask.
if you ask him, and that's all he cares about. But I mean, like, yeah, anyone that's saying that
Well,
this
I don't think
is
we
racist
can
is
ask
ridiculous.
him.
Like,
I was under the impression that he got his 3rd booster shot, heard there were going to be protests in Ottawa, and promptly took ill.
yeah.
Does anybody not see through that? Like, how is that not?
Well, see,
Like, I just don't even know.
This is
Like,
what's called
who said that was
cognitive
a good
dissonance.
Who
Super
said that was a
convenient
good
timing,
move?
yeah.
Like,
Well, no, but if you get your 3rd vaccine, you get your booster shot, then you're less likely to die from COVID.
But then you immediately get
like,
COVID like 2 weeks later.
Apparently, you will also then
did
get
nobody
COVID
in
and
his
have to
cabinet
go
be
to-
like, Mr. Trudeau, that's a bitch move. You really shouldn't do that. Like, that is a really like.
You're talking
You
about a
should
group of
watch.
people.
So
You're
we're also
about a group of
talking,
people that function in a different reality from the rest of us.
right? So I'm gonna say I assume all 6 of us on the panel probably don't really drink soy lattes compared to the giant party.
Listen, man, you
right?
got something against soy?
No, I'm not assuming gender. I'm assuming your
yes.
drink choice, right? Which nowadays could be conspicuous on which one's which, but whatever, right? So the Liberal Party, they probably drink lots of soy lattes that, applying logic to anything.
Maybe there's a connection between soy intake and whether you get COVID or not.
Yeah, lowers the T
Could be.
levels and all kinds of things.
I
Right,
wonder
like-
if the getting the COVID and actually just getting sick or maybe being misdiagnosed.
Yeah, I mean, even like I said, talking to some people and they're finally like, everybody's talking about, this every winter it's bad, and it's like does nobody not remember like pre-COVID? It's wintertime. People get sick. This is just like life. Like, why? How did we forget that? We live in Canada. How did we forget?
That I
These are
wanted
the
to
soy lattes. I stand by the soy lattes is the problem. We should ban them. They're just as bad as AR-15.
I
worse.
think
They're
they
worse.
might be worse.
They're worse.
Yeah.
Definitely
Be
worse.
worse.
Yeah. Dave touched on something, and I think Peter mentioned it earlier too. It's wintertime. It is balls cold out there.
It's cold as fuck. You were up in Sunridge?
Crazy.
Do you have?
I don't know what you're talking about, Dave. I was
hundreds-
toasty.
hundreds of people in Ottawa.
Yeah, you were melting into the ice, literally.
Braving the cold, and by hundreds I mean 1.5 million, I believe, is the
Is that the official number?
I think
I don't mean like.
I don't know if there is an official number.
That would be.
Well, I mean,
one
like
that
not like what the
probably
CBC
believe.
says, because the CBC
Yeah,
will tell us there's like 300 people. We've been to protest in
problem
Ottawa.
is-
We understand this.
Literally, it's a guess. That's the problem. Like, they have no way of tracking how any of this works. It's the same as the trucks. They really don't know how many are downtown because they're in little encampments where the police have funneled them to. Same with the people. They just don't, like, this weekend was busier than last weekend, and last weekend was the most people I've ever seen in one place in one time. And I've been to like some pretty shitty concerts. So
You look at the video of the guy that was at Vaughan Mills, and you saw the CBC guy with the speaker, and then the camera just keeps like trying to set up because the guy's like, no, more over, because he doesn't want to get the 10,000 people all in the Bass Pro parking lot in the shot, because then that would ruin the narrative.
Shut down. Isn't that where they had to shut down one of the exit ramps or the on ramps because there's too many people?
Yeah,
Probably. I'm sure that they had to do that everywhere.
It was absolutely packed. Like Bass Pro Shop is a big parking lot. I don't know if you've been there, and it was packed. Like this guy walked. The video is 5 minutes long, and he just keeps walking and like looking with his camera back and forth, and it's just a wall of people. And CBC's down at the end of it with the camera facing away. It's absolutely asinine. Like
some of the best pictures of the convoy on its way to Ottawa were the drone footage out of Saskatchewan.
Yeah.
Because there's nothing else around at nighttime.
Yeah.
And you see all the trucks and they just follow back and back and back and back. And it just like disappears out into the distance because somebody's dog is out there too. But
God, he beat me to it. I was going to make a joke about this part about Saskatchewan. You should watch your dog run away for 3 days.
well, that's the thing. You can see the trucks lined up from the drive all the way to the Alberta border.
You can see the convoy coming for 3 days. The new joke,
Jeremy on YouTube points this out, and it is probably worth mentioning this. I was trying to follow some of the coverage from home, watching online, and a lot of highway cameras were being turned off.
Weird.
So weird.
They
must have been doing maintenance.
Yeah. Well, that or like whoever is the guy watching him is the same guy that was supposed to be watching Epstein's camera. But
I don't think any of the trucks hung themselves.
No, but the cameras certainly turned themselves off at a convenient time.
Yeah, it's true. It's true they did.
Well, I think there was even a what is it, like one of those justice something or others, like one of those like political watchdogs or whatever, like demanded that the government turn the cameras back on because they had
Justice Center or JFRC or whatever their name is.
JCCF. JCCF.
I would get there eventually.
Yeah. Because I mean, like, all over the country, cameras have all conveniently been turned off along the highway. Although they managed to light up those signs over the highway saying that the convoy was coming and you may experience delays in traffic. As I was driving home, right past the convoy with no traffic whatsoever. But yeah, all the cameras are turned off. It's weird.
So that was another thing. Me driving.
Does that scare you though? I feel like it should scare people, like that they're willing to go to such a length to try.
I don't think it's that big of a length. I think
speaking
it's
of
more
going to lengths, though. Sorry, go ahead.
Go ahead.
But if you're talking about being scared, they're going to go to the lengths of shutting off the traffic cameras. Well, they went to the lengths of going to GoFundMe and shutting down $10 million of donations. They went to a big corporation and said, this is now an occupation and it's violent, and so GoFundMe decided to change their way of looking at it.
Yeah,
they finally took back all the BLM money.
Let's start with like GoFundMe is not new to this, and GoFundMe has had some questionable practices in the past. We'll call them. The fact that they let this go on as long as they did was more of a shock to me than the fact that they turned it off.
Yeah, they let it get to 10 million for fuck's sakes. Like,
I think it was yesterday or today there was leaks come out of the Ottawa Police Department from like a city council meeting. Somebody on a hot mic or somebody talking to the chief of police and a council person admitting to or being, I don't know, culpable is maybe not the right word,
yeah.
but they take credit privately for having contacted GoFundMe and having this shut down by effectively lying to GoFundMe and saying that this is now like a violent insurrection.
Well, I mean, they had 8 people ticketed for excessive honking on Saturday alone.
And
Man,
2 people didn't show their
if
ID.
you got
I want that
ticketed, if you
ticket.
got ticketed for excessive honking, get in touch with the show and we will give you some Patreon money.
Yeah.
Oh, they're
Yeah.
going to be good. They
Some
got.
pocket money.
So what's the new site that they're on?
Give, send, go.
That's it. So
Actually,
I think that's
someone
already
on
over
the
what,
comments.
3 million, something like that.
Actually,
more than
someone.
that.
Somebody
Let me
just said,
figure
like,
out this computer thing.
5.5.
Yeah, someone just
Yeah.
mentioned on the. Well, it's on the live chat. So
Yeah, but no, like
take that with a grain of salt. But yeah, no, it
it's-
sounds about right. 5.5 mil.
with all the stuff, it is amazing that like, so the GoFundMe just like went, it kept just climbing every day. It was like $1 million every single day, which is
Yeah.
insane. But yeah, I agree with Andrew. It's like the fact that they let it get to that size, like there was like they paused it for a little bit
Like
because
6
they're like,
times.
we need to make sure where this money's going, and they talked to the organizers, and then they're like, oh, okay, everything's good, and they even released $1 million to them.
Mm-hmm.
And then they allowed them to collect more, and then now because of this mayor and or police chief, talking bullshit and telling them that, oh, it's
I think it was a
violent.
councilperson and the police chief, but anyway, carry on. It was a city politician
It's
and
a
a police chief.
combination
Yeah.
of
The mayor's
people that are
just as bad.
liars. Yeah.
Well, I don't want to just besmirch the wrong politician. Not that I
That's
think that
fair.
I could if I tried, but like,
You
feel
gotta
like
get
all-
the,
better.
I feel
the
like
right
I was
thing.
mostly pretty
Yes.
crooked.
You gotta
You're
nail them to
also-
the wall for the right thing. But yeah, they, due to a coercion amongst politicians and law enforcement lying to GoFundMe, the thing got canceled, and then it was all kind of up
I'm
in the air
surprised
what
by
was
that.
going to happen.
I'm really amazed that GoFundMe let this go as long as that they did, because this
Yeah.
is not a Black Lives Matter riot, and if it was, then it would be totally different.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Because
a
something
lot
that's
more,
actually
spray
violent.
paint on the statues.
Well, can we
A lot
talk
more
about
Sony
that?
We should talk about
systems
the
going on.
statues.
Yeah.
Yeah, but
I mean, the
like,
is
clean
anyone, like,
statues that are
super-
being protected.
Is anyone super mad that Terry Fox got a Canada flag cape
And
thing?
Well,
And a hat.
So I had
Yeah.
somebody bring up something really interesting about that. They're like,
He would have been all for it.
well, first of all, that. Second of all, there's like video clips of him being like, the news is lying out of his own mouth, right? And then on top of that, somebody brought up, and it's really controversial, but I think you guys can handle it. Somebody brought up the topic, like, why is this guy being so glorified in the first place? I mean, he did his own thing, but now it's just like he's a platform for some research company to make a ton of money off little kids doing ridiculous things at school.
I
Like,
will.
this guy didn't change the world. He was like iconic, sure, but
Yeah.
He didn't even make it.
That is a very fair assessment.
not even.
Whoa!
Sorry.
Shots fired. Shots
Hot take.
fired. Wow.
Hot take. That's show note. That's going to be the name of the show. He didn't even make it.
That's
And didn't he not make it because he was stopped?
He died.
By-
He died.
because he had
Yeah,
cancer
no,
and died.
He
Yeah.
had the
Peter.
cancer.
His
The
cancer got worse.
cancer
and
kind
he literally
kicked
couldn't
in
run
hard.
anymore.
Okay.
Yeah.
Died in Thunder
Although
Bay.
we'll probably
Apparently,
go
I've had a
back
lot
in
more
time
whiskey than
and
I thought.
realize
I thought
that
he was
had
stopped by the
COVID,
government.
so-
I was hoping he was stopped by the government because that would all entail into this.
No,
but now,
no,
now I
this
can
is
Probably
like
got
a whole
cancer
big-
from relating to the government, but
So, due to my previous comment,
Still-
I will take the hit and say I've had one soy latte today.
That's fair.
Get out.
well,
Get out.
I understand the
Speaking
sentiment, but as we tend to treat Terry Fox as a Canadian hero, right? Everyone in Canada, the vast majority of Canadians know and respect what he did, and it is a pretty incredible thing to run most of the way across the country before you die of cancer
On one
Yeah.
leg.
yeah,
on one
Don't-
leg. Yeah,
Don't
Like-
don't follow my
right,
logic on this.
most
statement.
people don't do that on two
But
good legs,
do
let
you
alone
guys
one good
remember in the
leg and
summertime
cancer.
when they were painting the McDonald's statue and painting the Laurier statue
Well,
and
not even
what
that.
other
I'm gonna-
statues?
I'm gonna-
They defaced a bunch of
They
statues.
ripped down Queen
They tore
Victoria's
them down.
statue.
I'm gonna
they killed
keep
by
it with the,
Didn't they
the
burn
Terry Fox
churches?
thing for a second.
Right.
So we'll get to the other statues, but to keep
I
it
want to
on
compare and
par,
contrast with those.
no,
Go
but I
ahead.
want to do like a direct one. So not the same Terry Fox statue, but a slightly different Terry Fox statue. So same person, different statues. There was a liberal politician that did the same thing, but with a rainbow flag that said liberal across it. So if you have a principled stand, neither statue is actually defaced. They placed things on it that are very removable. So is it okay to have the rainbow flag liberal banner on Terry Fox and not
I just
okay
need to
to
go out
have
and
a
say
mandate
no.
freedom one?
And
Because
a
if you have a
Canadian flag.
principled
And a
stance,
Canadian
you're either
flag.
okay with both or not okay with both.
Do you
But
know
then
if you
you,
were to ask Terry Fox right now if he was to choose
well,
which
if
flag he'd rather have around his shoulders, I think
Pretty
Does
sure I know
any-
the answer.
Well,
We
I
might get
mean,
canceled, so I'm not going to
it's-
say.
I'm pretty sure we're already canceled.
yeah,
Not on YouTube yet.
yeah, we're not Joe
Yeah.
Rogan yet, but like,
I
has
can't
the
wait till we're
Ouija
Joe
board? We
Rogan.
can
When they
ask-
cancel me, they're going to have to give me so much money.
but like,
Russ
I,
Spotify, $100 million. Let's go.
Rumble just offered him 100 mil.
if you're
Yeah, I
pissed
know.
off that you're using a Canadian icon to push an agenda, you need to be pissed off that you're using a Canadian icon to push any agenda. And that's the problem. They're not.
I agree with the sentiment, but I'm going to not take a principled stance on this, and I'm going to say that I don't want them pushing.
Anything on him?
Well,
I won't call it defacing a statue because to me they didn't.
You're right.
Deface
It's
a
not
statue.
defacing a statue.
Not like the
I don't-
other ones where they literally spray painted them and or knocked them over
or
and destroyed
beheaded
I-
them,
I
or
think
knocked them down, or
Any playing with it whatsoever is honestly just in poor taste, really. I mean, just
them. I won't even say that it's that. Like, who cares? Like, they haven't done that to statues for fucking St. Patrick's Day and put like
mhm.
shit on it or whatever. Like, who cares? It's
But
they have
so
not
here's the
defaced
gig.
it.
But here's the gig. First of all, they called it desecrating the statue.
Well, and that's
And I'm like, that's a really harsh word. That's like a really weird word to
No.
use. He's
How
not
what's the
like an
desecra-
idol.
yeah.
What's
They
the
didn't piss on their
desecration part?
grave, right? Like, it's a statue.
But
It's
what's
a
the
statue.
desecration part? You put the Canadian flag on.
And
So
Right.
was
But
it
then-
the fact that it was a Canadian flag? Is the
well, had it been a
desecration
rainbow flag, it would have been acceptable.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Honk,
but
honk.
No, because a
It
white
doesn't
person
even-
put it on there.
they didn't even
Oh,
acknowledge
okay.
though,
Yeah.
like all the photos that we all saw of like people literally washing the statues later. Like
Mhm.
all of the
Yeah.
statues.
Yeah,
And
that
I'm
was
like,
not in the news. That
No,
was
but
no,
it- yeah,
Yeah.
nobody.
Well,
Like
trying to
the
tell
that,
me
or, that or
newspaper-
the truckers
Yeah.
all shoveling around
Well,
the
and
war
then-
memorial, clearing all the
Well,
snow.
And so
I
then,
know.
you know, the other controversial desecration thing was that there were some cars that were parked on the war memorial, which like makes it sound that like they're fucking on the thing.
Like
There's a
dudes
little
with Jeeps or
flat,
something.
there's a little flat spot on the front, and I'm not saying what these people did was right.
No. But
Is it disrespectful?
yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Did they permanently alter or damage the war memorial in any way?
No.
No. So again, poor taste, maybe disrespectful, maybe, but they did
But-
not like damage, desecrate, deface, or anything like that.
Okay.
And immediately after, like someone went and they moved it, and then there were people that were there saying, "Don't fucking park here."
And they've been there all week.
Well, they've now erected
Right,
a fence around it to make it look like everyone's bad and they can't do that. But like
Uh-huh.
something kind of shitty happened. They corrected it almost immediately and
Yeah,
then
almost
ensured that
immediately.
it didn't happen again.
And it's
But
like, who are the
statue
three
right.
people that parked there? That's what I want to know. You know what I mean? Like
No, but-
the media was really quick, really quick to spot that. Like almost like it was supposed to happen. You know what I mean?
Almost
I
like
don't
it
know.
was
The
the
media's
the
been
one
really
guy
good at-
holding
Maybe my
Confederate
tinfoil
flag.
hat's a
Yeah,
little
it was like the one
tight.
guy that had the camera went and parked his car there and then went and took the photo.
Yeah. Or the guy
Yeah.
with exactly.
Yeah, the
That
other
was
two
actually
feds with the
something
flags.
somebody said.
A-
They're like,
and at the same time,
But
if
the media's just mad because that's where they park their vehicles.
Yeah.
and if you've never been to Ottawa, you might not know that's actually the war memorial, and you're just like, hey, there's a flat spot that's not going to
Look,
be in the way
parking.
of traffic.
Yeah.
Yeah,
I don't see
right?
a red.
Might
peace
not be
sign
the
anywhere.
best place to park, but like, hey, I can park here, and then someone says, hey, in case you didn't look up, this is what it is. You know, take up this road, because yeah, like they had. Well, when I went on Saturday, they had blockades up, cops everywhere. I'm sure they were stopping people. You couldn't get to certain places. They had concrete blocks blocking the 2 lanes, and then on the other 2 lanes they had cop vehicles, whether it was RCMP, OPP, Ottawa Police, OC Transpo Security for some reason, right?
Well, that
So
sounds scary.
They did
Yeah,
have like
so-
a field hospital though. Did you see that?
No,
Were they all getting their booster
Yeah.
shots?
I mean, like,
Free
so
boosters.
I wasn't aware of this, but like Ottawa has a city bus, like one of the big ones that's got like the articulating middle. They have one of those that's actually like a field ambulance, like a field hospital. And so they had that in there, and then they had like
where?
3 different ambulances. So if you're looking directly at the center block, like Parliament Hill, and you start going towards, like, start moving away from there, it's directly across from, I don't know. I just wandered around blocks for days.
Okay, because like I seriously stood on the hill and looked where that giant crane was that had
Yes,
the Canadian
it was
flag.
actually that road. It was that road.
I'm
down
gonna
there.
have to look at that picture because
Yeah.
no, like
But it's like
because they
quite a bit
had
down.
between
Yeah.
but between the 2 they had
Mhm.
every province flag, province
Yeah.
and territory. I don't want to discriminate, but they had all the
Even
flags,
Alberta?
right? So that's up for debate, right? I'm not going to confirm.
Certain
'cause I
politicians
wanna-
don't always include that
Yeah.
province.
Exactly, right? But I didn't see it. I mean, but then again, there was like a boatload of people, and I was like, as much as I want to be here to support everything, there's
I think
two,
the soy
like,
is
that
ruining
I
your
want-
vision there, Pierre.
I
No,
also saw
yeah.
two horseback riders that were not RCMP. They looked like they came right out of the Calgary Stampede, and they were walking
Nice.
down. Yeah, it was impressive. They were riding their horses down the road. One of them was like, had the Canadian flag. The other one had a Trump flag. I was
Well,
like,
and so-
"Yeah, you about to piss
I don't-
people off?"
I don't understand the Trump flag thing. I get the fuck Trudeau flag.
I think it's just to piss people off at this point.
Well, but this is
Just-
the thing
Is
that
it a
I think
troll?
it
Yeah.
lends some unfavorable criticisms to the thing, and like I saw a few Trump flags or Trump like winter hats and all of that, like at the Toronto thing, and like if you watch the just before we went on, there was the emergency meeting of Parliament, and they were talking, and Jagmeet gets up and he starts talking, and now he's like trying to say that like because we saw Trump flags, that means there are Trump supporters, which means that some of this money must have come from the US and they want to try to get like the FBI or whatever involved to like source the money because that's what's funding this insurrection. Because
I heard that word thrown around a couple times today. on the
January
news.
6th, but the Canadian version,
Right.
or like all of that, and like then tying like Trump to racism, like so they're trying to make these connections there by people showing up with Trump flags, which like I think is stupid because who fucking cares whether you like Trump or not? Because one, he's not the president anymore, and 2, it has nothing to do with COVID mandates. It's like
Well-
it's not needed here. Yeah,
It's pretty interesting though. Like, yes, okay, so the border issue is going to affect the Americans a lot, and the whole crossing the border thing, all of that. The folks down in the States, they have a much lower vaccination rate, so this is going to impact them so much more. Here's
absolutely.
the thing that I thought was pretty interesting though. I have a buddy out in New Hampshire, and he said to me, he's like, "You guys want to end this fast?" He's like, "You cut off the borders because the United States gets 80% of their like crude oil or fuel from Canada." And he's like, as soon as you start screwing with that supply line to the States, the US is going to go nuts and just like shut it down. Shut it down.
We don't have pipelines. How do we get anything down to the state?
We have a bunch of pipelines. We just don't have new pipelines.
Oh, okay. I apologize. That's probably the soy getting in my brain.
Also, a lot of trains. Believe
You
it or
need
not,
to
we ship a
switch
lot of
to oat
trains.
milk. You need to
Yeah.
switch to oat milk. It'll
How are
go
you
up.
going to milk an oat?
How
don't-
are you
I don't
gonna
know where
drive
the
your
teeth
car
on an oat.
oat milk?
Yeah, really,
It's
really
just-
hard.
Where's the
We do
teeth on
have-
an oat?
We do have.
In case
almond
you're
milk.
wondering, I was going to
But-
say, in case you're wondering, you don't milk soy.
Soy boys.
Although I'm sure this.
I don't wanna milk a soy boy.
But speaking of borders,
And
there
that's
have been
subtitles.
some of the borders that have been getting shut down. I mean, if you look at Coots in Alberta,
Alberta.
It's
Just shut down
I'm
Windsor.
very proud
It's
of Alberta.
amazing.
Yeah.
They shut down Windsor today, apparently. If you're
Yeah.
watching the news, it is a slow roll through there,
And-
that's the one. That's one of the ones that I want to see.
Well,
That is a busy hub.
Yeah.
That's
And-
feeding
and-
the whole Midwest.
I mean, the
Yeah,
Alberta
all
thing
that
is awesome.
stuff. All
Yeah.
that stuff in Alberta makes my pants a little tight from time
Does.
to time.
Like,
Did you
Yeah,
see the horse cavalry
like-
going in there on
Oh,
Sunday?
that was
weekend?
that was
and that's the
I
unreal.
saw
thing
the
that's been
video.
so
I saw
amazing
the
about
video.
it.
Yeah,
The-
yeah.
the-
My wife sent it to me. I was like,
They've
Yes.
come in, they've barricaded the border. The RCMP comes in and like
Who
tries
has
to
more
hassle
horses,
them or
bitch?
whatever and pull some of them out. And like, apparently they were getting violent despite the fact that no arrests were made.
Yeah.
They
Well,
then
that
block
seems
off
suspicious.
people trying to help them. So
Yeah.
now there's like
Then the farmers
blockade,
are going off road and like we don't give a shit about your
police,
blockades.
another blockade of people that weren't allowed to go and help them. Then the farmers come in and just like, fuck this, we're going right around it. And then
Yeah.
the cowboys come in on horses. It's just like, this is insane.
So
Ugh.
I don't know if you guys are like country music fans at all, but
No.
Yes, I've
we-
heard Convoy
I've,
before.
I've, I've
No,
been down
no,
with
no.
it.
No,
Convoy.
he listened
guy
to both
that-
kinds
Oh,
of music,
boy.
country and Western.
Yes.
Okay, there you go. So the guy that actually remade Convoy, Paul Brandt, correct me if I'm wrong, but he remade that. That was a remake.
Yeah.
So he lives in Alberta. Okay.
Yeah.
So he's a big fan of this Freedom Convoy thing. He actually took his helicopter and dropped food to them.
Did he have the
That's
fuck Trudeau
amazing.
flag underneath? Was
I
that
Oh,
him?
that was in
doubt it.
Ottawa,
I
That was in
doubt it.
Ottawa, yeah.
That was
in
Ottawa.
Ottawa.
which was awesome.
Yeah.
But like this Coots thing is awesome though. Like you're
Yeah.
shutting it
Need
down.
more
And
of it.
like
More
they've
of
been
it.
making some progress out there because if you start looking like Saskatchewan and
No.
Alberta, the premiers have come out and said that they're going to start repealing all of the vaccine stuff.
Yeah,
And-
but let's be real.
Sort of.
Kenny is about as
Trustful,
solid
yeah.
as O'Toole was.
Oh,
Trust
so-
him about as much as your
Absolutely.
kids with a priest,
I-
but yeah.
But at least they're saying the thing as opposed to Ford that hasn't said shit all other than that he supports vaccinations and that this all needs to end.
I think he's just a
So-
puppet now, like an actual like animatronic puppet. Like
I
he just
I don't even know if it-
regurgitates the words of the day.
I don't
kinda
even
thing.
know if it's that. I think that we're going to be looking at another election, and he's trying to figure out a way to stay in power. And
Who does he think is going to vote for him? No conservative in their right
Who-
mind votes for
Who
this dumbass.
who else are you going to vote
who else
for?
are you going to
Yeah.
vote for, Dave?
Blue
Dave,
Party.
you should.
Blue Party.
Dave, run for office. Dave, you should run
What-
for office.
What's
Dave
Blue
can't
Party?
You mean I can't
I-
run? I walk briskly.
You're
I,
right.
I,
you
I
were-
look
Go
like I
for
can run.
office.
I can't run.
There are
I don't
no-
know.
I will
but
drink to
Who-
office.
I mean, like, I don't
Blue
don't get
Party.
me
No,
wrong.
seriously, Blue Party.
Ford
They're
is
talking
a-
about running in all major ridings.
I mean,
Sorry,
okay,
all
so
right.
so Ford is definitely a terrible choice for premier. What do you want? You want another 4 years of McGuinty or Wynne Liberals?
Ideally,
you want
ideally-
Bob Ray NDP days again? You want Ray
No,
days to come back?
I-
Everybody gets unpaid time off.
The way I
what's
see
your,
it
what's
is-
your choice for Ontario here, Dave?
Rob gets a minority government that has to be backed by the Blue Party.
Who's the
Man.
Blue Party?
You need to do. They're basically the people that have been ostracized by the
Yeah, they're the
Conservative
new
Party.
one.
They're new.
No,
They're like
yes and no.
BBC, like the real
They're not
conservatives.
new. The Blue Party has been around for what, like 6 or 8 years, but they've never
but-
fielded a full slate of candidates in the province
They're-
before.
Apparently,
and
they're
it's
planning to
mostly-
this year.
It's mostly
Okay.
Conservative Party, Ontario Conservative Party
So
rejects. It's
it's
people that have been kicked out and
Yeah.
they're looking
Sort of
for a home.
Yeah,
Like a provincial version of Bernier's party for Ontario.
And
Where,
so
like-
unless you have enough candidates running in enough,
Like I said,
Um,
they
I
said
don't-
that they're going to
areas-
I don't think it'll be
They
a
also
problem to
need the
get them enough candidates to run. I think it'll
but-
be a
but-
problem to get them elected.
Yeah.
So
much
there's like at least 5 different candidates here. I'd like to see all of you guys run. That'd be entertaining.
I mean,
I can't,
yes,
I'm
but
Manitoban.
Yeah. I think
They're
the
really,
problem
like,
is that we've
people
said
in
too
the
many
garden.
dumb things on the internet, and it's probably.
oh,
gonna
I
come
stand
back
by the
to
dumb
bite
things
us.
we've said on the internet, and it's
And
still
so do
fewer dumb
I.
things than Doug Ford has said. I've seen
Yeah.
all of his press
Okay.
conferences.
you have
That
drunk
pretty
for
much
most
makes
of
you a
us
good
after-
politician.
Yeah, but like
haven't
someone's
been-
Like, dumb
gonna
things on the internet.
someone's gonna cut together like a Joe Rogan-esque montage of us saying stupid things.
So you're saying listenership will go up?
Yes.
I was gonna say.
There's
seems
no
like
such
a
thing as
$100
bad press, baby.
publicity
Let's
stunt.
go.
And then
gonna
Neil
be-
Young is going to
Giddy
get
up.
really angry at him.
I mean, so I mean,
Rocking
while
in
we're
the free world.
The road to a
while
million
we're throwing
subscribers.
people under the political bus, I see 5. Well, I guess Peter doesn't count because Manitoba, but maybe Peter can run in Manitoba. So in Ontario, I see 4 white cisgendered men, but I do see a woman, and maybe she ought to run for office because that would.
Did you just assume my gender?
I did.
I thought I identify as a
I
Patrick.
knew Gavin liked soy.
Well, I'm just saying, like, if I could win, I identify as a winner. So whatever works, right?
I wake up in the morning and piss excellence. So
Yeah.
Winner
Oh,
or
I-
wiener? There's
Yes,
I
there's
saw,
something up
dear.
there.
I saw a
But-
T-shirt that said "I identify as the she it." You can say it really fast. You'll get it.
this shit. Yes.
Oh, did you guys hear that Trudeau's pronouns have been updated on his Twitter profile? They're now he, hid.
What?
In our case, we talked a little bit about how he suddenly developed COVID after his 3rd booster shot when
He
he
tested
found out it
negative,
was going to be.
but he contact
And
traced.
then
so-
immediately the next day it was positive. Yeah.
Okay.
So
And
I
Funny
thought
enough.
that the test didn't work.
I
That's
still don't think that
what
they do,
told all
but
of us.
I think this is a convenient excuse for him to be absent from government.
Kind of
Pretty
funny
sure he's
story,
in
but
Tofino.
with a crayon.
Anybody who listens that's in Tofino, can you get your wide-angle lenses out and see if he's surfing?
Oh,
So-
he's back in Ottawa now. He was in
He
Parliament
seems
today.
to be back in Ottawa. He was in Tofino. At
Bullshit.
least my suspicion is he was on the island at his other
Well,
residence.
but that leads to some other
Vacation home.
interesting things. So, like, when he did the stupid like response to the truckers, which wasn't a response to the truckers at all, it was just to like get vaccinated. It's safe and effective, despite the
And
fact that
we're
I'm triple
tinfoil
vaxxed and
hat
testing positive.
wearers.
But people like looked at the background and were like, "Oh no, he's at the
Cottage or
like-
whatever.
Harrington Lake or whatever the fuck it is, like the one that's."
His vacation home on
Yeah.
Vancouver Island.
No, the other
Well,
one.
no, they said that it was at the other one, like the
Oh.
one
One in
where
Quebec or
the one
whatever.
where Sophie was hiding out.
With Idris.
Idris's place?
Yeah.
Yes.
That
Yes.
yeah.
Not the place in Tofino, but like I watched the video, like it's him walking out of the door, and not that I don't think he was in Tofino, because like that's what he would absolutely do. But if that's the case, they went and built like a whole fake set to look like the other vacation home.
Hey, when it's not your money.
And that's a whole lot of money to spend on the media to keep it quiet. Again, not something I wouldn't say that they wouldn't do, because
I would
what's
not
a
put
few
it
more
past
billion
anything.
dollars at their like
To be
Exactly.
fair, they have hundreds of millions of dollars that are unaccounted for in the last year.
absolutely.
So,
And I'm just
Yeah,
saying
what
that,
what,
like,
what are we up to? It's $400 million in budgetary
Billion, I
changes
thought.
that are.
Yeah.
Are we up to $1 billion now?
No.
I don't know.
I thought we went from
it was
8
billions.
well,
That
isn't
is
that is
Oh.
it in what the dollars are worth at the time that they went missing, or what they're worth now?
Well, I think they're worth less.
Yeah,
Worth
so it's
less?
probably $1 billion
there's more.
now.
More money on paper, less like it gets you not as far.
But either way,
They'll do
he was
like
not,
half
he
of a
was not
fake
in,
house.
in Ottawa because he was following Ottawa's public health thing that told him to vaccinate or to quarantine indefinitely, despite the fact that that is not the case. And several people called him out on that and said that you don't need to do that.
'cause he had a
And
negative
if anything,
test.
it's 5
Yeah.
days max.
Yeah, because he's
At-
triple
at the
vaxxed.
same time.
So
Right. But at the same time, right? Like Christmas, I'll say ruined, and I use quotation marks, and I'm doing that
I
thing.
don't know.
close
I
to
thought
the
it was
Mike,
pretty
speaker.
good.
I would say my Christmas was fine.
Yeah.
No, so but
Mine too.
right, so
Yeah.
we had Christmas at home, wife, daughter, mother-in-law. Let's just drink some Baileys and coffee, open presents, and we were planning on going to my parents the following day to hang out with my family and everything. Well, we got phone calls and everything, and my brother had gotten the COVIDs, even though he's double jabbed, because he's not eligible for
Oh,
the
gee,
third at the time.
Oh yeah. See, that's
And
why.
then-
Yeah.
Yeah, and then so my dad, who's old enough to get the triple jab, he got the triple jab, but they had hung out previous to him getting whatever, but he got a test and they called him the next day saying, "You're fine." So Christmas Day, we were planning on going Boxing Day. So Christmas Day at like 8 o'clock at night, right? Or no, sorry. The 23rd, they called them saying your test came back, you're clear, you're good, you can do whatever you want, you're not positive. Christmas Day at like 8 o'clock at night, they called and said, yeah, sorry, we fucked up. You're actually positive. So I had, my sister and her husband, who were down from another province, come down and everything. So there's like 6, 7 people at my house, right? And they're all testing positive one after another because of
Fucking party.
COVIDs. So it was kind of nice that like 3 days later we did a Zoom call, right, with like opening up presents and everything. And it was just clear. I was like, right off the get-go, I was like, just to clarify, it was not the unjabbed that caused us not to be together.
Yeah.
But right?
Pierre is not getting asked to host family Christmas next year.
No, I don't get asked. And
but I mean,
which is surprising. You should try my cooking.
The whole thing is
I'd
just
love to.
is ridiculous. Like, and I'll give a weird little tangent story too, because why not? But like just to show how stupid this whole thing is. So the girlfriend was not feeling great a little while ago, and I think I told Andrew and Dave this in person when I saw them, but like not like flu-like symptoms, but like, you know, a little bit of like a headache and like a little upset stomach, but like nothing like crazy. Just wasn't feeling great. So went to the walk-in clinic near the place, and they're like, you know, oh, it's just like a sinus infection. Here's some antibiotics. Take these. You know, come back in a couple of days if you don't feel better. She's like, is there maybe anything else that I need to be kind of like worried about? Like, no, it's a sinus infection. She's like, well, like, what about like the Rona? They're like, nah, it's a sinus infection. A couple of days later, she's still not feeling great. Goes back, goes to talk to the same people, basically. And they're like, oh yeah, no, it's the Rona. You need to get tested immediately. And this is right before the evening before I'm supposed to go ice fishing for the weekend. And we had like a gentleman's agreement, gentle person's agreement, where like don't show
Gentle
up.
helicopter.
Yeah. Don't show up if you're sick. And not because we're scared of the Rona, but just because like it's the decent, you know, human thing to do is not get everyone else sick. So we try to go to the Shoppers Drug Mart next door so that she can get a COVID test, right? They're like, oh, we're not doing those after this time. You'll have to come back tomorrow morning. I'm like, but the time you open is I'm already supposed to be on the road by then. So she goes in the morning, and I'm like, okay, just text me your results. And if you get a positive one, I turn around and come home. She goes and they do the nasal swab, and they're like, yeah, no, negative, you're fine. So I'm like, sweet, I can keep driving. I had an awesome time ice fishing and drinking. The Monday after that, she has a call with her doctor, like her actual doctor, and is telling her the thing. And they're like, oh yeah, no, you definitely have COVID. That's a false negative.
What?
And it's like, even though
you're making
still,
this shit up now,
even though you still have no actual symptoms of COVID, you're definitely positive for COVID, and the test that you went and did is a false negative. You need to isolate for 10 days now. She's like, this is ridiculous.
No, I won't be doing that.
Yeah, and I was like, this is stupid. Like, obviously, like if you don't feel good enough to not go to work, don't go, but not because you have COVID, just because like you're sick. But like otherwise, it's just stupid. This whole thing is stupid.
Like he wants it to be a stat now. Like we get to tell you, we told you to isolate, so now we get to tick that one in the positive column.
So,
yes.
I work.
Fuck Trudeau. Fuck his COVID nonsense and his positive and/or negative test, because the whole thing is just starting to get ridiculous.
Yeah, it's absolutely ridiculous.
So we're talking over a year ago. I have 3 employees working under me for a company, and you know, 3, 4 kids. One of them's not feeling good, tested positive for COVID. So, you know, it's just going to go through the house, everybody getting whatever's. And he was off. I want to say this person was off for 2.5 months, maybe 3. And it was actually like they were willing to pay him 40 hours a week for that. over, filing short-term disability or whatever. And, a few scenarios where the person had contacted me because I'm their direct supervisor saying like, hey, I got to take a day or two because this was a while ago where all the kids were online school. There was no in school. And hey, they were kind of being kids and didn't do their homework. So now it's crunch time in the next like 2 days or 3 days. I have to crunch in way too much work to get them to pass and go on to the next. So him telling me that, I was like, do what you got to do. I'm aware I can switch my schedule around to cover what you need to do and everything. Right. So because he called in not feeling well for 2-3 days, they would not allow this person to come in without a negative COVID test. But nobody informed me of this. So I call this person on this day he's supposed to be in. I was like, it's like 9:30 in the morning. Are you fucking punching in and coming to work? And he's like, I'm not allowed to come in because I was told I can't come back until whatever. So he's like, but I was also told I can't tell you this. So I call my boss, which he reported to and everything. And he called in, or a whole bunch of stuff that was not related to anything of this. So it's just crazy to see semi sort of big corporate or whatever refusing to inform people that I work with this person and I interact with them almost on a daily basis, that you're sending him for this flu/COVID test, but you're not informing me, even though we hung out 2 days ago and he already told me he was taking a few days off due to whatever reason.
Well, they don't want to panic everybody, right?
Right.
But this is why
So-
we have the convoy. Like, this is
Yeah.
the whole point. Stories
Exactly.
like this, stories like Gavin's, like
Absolute
everybody's
ludicrousness.
sick of this garbage.
Yeah, it's just you see the bullshit for what it is. Like I think people are just finding like this
it's-
makes absolutely no sense. If this were actually dangerous, this would not be what's happening. People would be like sheltering in place, like don't talk to anybody, don't take public transit, close all the borders, like shut everything down. But that's
You
not
wouldn't
what's
need the
happening.
news. You
Keep
would
talking
have
dirty
the
to me,
news
Dave. I'm
to
getting
tell you
excited.
about the pandemic.
When you sit down
Up-
and you can take your mask off because you can't get sick when you sit down, that should have
Oh
been
no,
the
you
first
lost
clue.
me. I was right
should've
there
been
with
the
you
first
until you got to
clue.
that.
This is
But
fucking
up until the
retarded.
mask
This is
first.
ridiculous.
But Dave,
Up
it's
until
only
the
if
mask
you can only
first.
sit down and take it off if it's before 10 p.m. After 10
Oh.
p.m.,
Yeah.
even if you're sitting down.
Yeah, the alcohol becomes infected or something like that.
Yeah,
I don't know.
Well,
what it is. Yeah.
good news, guys. I can't sit down. I'm not allowed to. So it doesn't matter. I'm safe,
Oh,
right?
well,
Like that whole situation.
Uh,
I'm safe.
So
I'm not even allowed
but-
to.
that's okay
So-
because I can't either.
Yeah.
Oh,
I found
natural-
some good restaurants though. So there's a couple of
Hmm.
restaurants in our area that
So
when I say are, like I live in southwestern Ontario, so our area. There's a couple that have stayed
Your
open.
area.
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
with
You 4,
this
5.
Yeah, I mean, there's a
Okay.
couple in my area too that fly under the radar,
What
Yeah.
happened? Did you lose your voice?
but
Oh, there we go.
I
Yeah.
agree. Like, this is exactly why none of this makes any sense. It hasn't made sense for like
2 years.
well,
Yeah,
like
after-
maybe
after, like,
a
month two,
year,
after month
11
two.
months and 2 weeks.
Yeah.
It hasn't made any sense. I'll give
By,
them a
by the
benefit of
time
the doubt
June,
for the
by the
first
time
2
June
weeks.
rolled around and the world hadn't ended, I feel like we should have just been like, all right, well, that was a little scary, but let's get back to her. Here we go. Let's go.
So
Yeah,
I'm
we
just
have
curious.
we have
right?
weights to lift and chicken wings to eat. And
Yes.
So,
Yeah.
so going back to
Guns to
you
shoot.
know,
I miss
The
winning night.
convoy is shutting business down.
so going to the restaurant, and
Inconveniencing
sitting
me.
down and being able to take off your mask, but when you stand up or whatever. I mean, don't get me wrong. I've had a lot to drink tonight, but does that mean people who are potentially disabled and in wheelchairs don't have to worry about the Rona?
Good
Yes.
question.
They're
It's
below
true.
the level that the Rona normally operates at. So I would say
Yeah.
generally yes, as long as they're not in school, because then the rules are totally different. If you're sitting at
Oh,
a
that's
desk,
different,
that is completely unlike sitting at a table in a restaurant.
On
Yeah,
a
no,
brighter
except
note
for-
with this-
But
when your mind is open, everything else is too,
So-
and you are more susceptible to COVID.
if
One thing
you want to go do wheelies on the dance floor, do you have to have a mask or not?
depends how long the wheelie is. If it's for
And
more
if
than
it's
3
no,
seconds,
Before
yes.
or after 10 o'clock.
Yes, also
Yeah.
true.
I
Also matters.
identify
And
as
whether-
somebody who requires all the accommodation.
As you should, including tax.
If you're a
rebate
paid
and
performer,
deduction.
I think that you don't have to wear the mask. Is that how that works? I forget what the rule is for.
I haven't been in one in a
no.
while. Should
If
we
you're a
go?
paid performer, you don't need to be
Yeah.
vaccinated.
I don't
in
think
some
we're allowed in
cases.
there, Dave.
Right.
Sounds like a
So-
school
So
trip.
dumb.
School trip.
So dumb.
Are we allowed to not wear
One-
pants
one
on
thing-
YouTube?
One thing I will say, guys, that I'm starting to see on the internet, just in the past few days, honestly, is it looks like the kids have also finally had enough of the bullshit.
Saw
I'm
that.
Agreed.
starting to
Yeah.
see high
Yes.
school kids being like, "Fuck you, taking our fucking masks off. This is retarded." Like they're
Yes,
they-
but how
like,
much of that is also just high school students that want to be obnoxious and not be?
Good for
Fine.
them.
That's enough
Good
for
for
me.
them. That's what we need them for. Like
Okay,
that's
good
what we
enough
need to
for
be right
not.
now.
I'm not saying you're
No.
not.
You bring up a really good point though, because so when I was in Ottawa over the weekend, this was the second weekend that I was there. So it got a little different the second weekend. And that second weekend brought people that, like they're vaccinated, they don't care, they're pretty like whatever to the whole mandate things, they'll comply, but they wanted to have a party. That's literally why they came down to the convoy. And
Which
I
I'm
had
not
friends that
upset
were
about.
there. I
Yeah.
know,
That's one
like
thing we've been missing. We haven't had. Well, I mean,
Yeah.
we've done
Yeah.
our parties, but we
We've
haven't
got
had like
free hot chocolate on our side,
proper
right?
big shindig, like a proper
Yeah.
shindig in a long time, in a very long
Yeah.
time.
I mean, and it was it was awesome. Like, just like I'm with you. Like, I don't like crowds, and like I really don't like going to protests. Like, I don't like having to be
seem
political.
To go to the important ones.
But like, I think it's like, I've learned this lesson from many things. If I don't do it, no one else is going to do it. And like, it's important to show up,
Yeah.
right? Whether you want to be there or not, it's important to show up. And what's the point of having a right if you don't exercise the right? And so I try to do that. And like, I don't like crowds, I don't like protests, but like, it's important to be there. But man, it was a fucking party, and it felt so fucking good to
People
be
are
there,
happy.
being around all those people that are just like, you know what, this is stupid. I'm at least for the time that I am here,
I'm going to relax and have some
I'm
fun.
going to live my life the way that I want to live my life. And I don't care about anything else. I'm going to be friendly. I'm going to be respectful and do all of the things because that's what a good person does. But like, the shit that don't matter.
Yeah.
Like, there were
So-
people that were there that were wearing a mask because they wanted to wear a mask. We thought they were all narcs, but like the vast majority of people weren't.
Narc.
But like,
So-
people were picking up the garbage. They were like, it was awesome just to be there. Like, it felt so good. Like, I felt as good as those people that are staying home and saving lives felt, maybe even better.
So today,
You know what,
like,
Staying
I-
home and having a soy latte is probably as close as you're gonna get to how they were feeling.
We're 9 days into trucks interfering with the operations in the city of Ottawa. How long are they going to let it go before the government decides to do something that causes?
I'm hearing a lot of rumors tonight that they're going
Well,
in, but
That's
we'll
what
see.
I-
I mean,
They went in
it's-
last night, trust me.
well,
They went
so,
in
I
last
mean,
night.
this is
seized a
exactly
bunch
what.
of-
Yeah, but like
Yes,
30
and
30
I,
gas
I
cans.
understand
anything.
they're
It's
confiscating
literally
gas
just a-
cans and they're
Well, we should
causing
touch on that a little.
inconveniences
Getting
to
more
protesters.
The
They were
city of
confiscating-
Ottawa has declared a state of emergency, so they are now in a double secret state of emergency, I think is what that is.
extra super.
Like I said, I think they're
emergent.
trying to get to Gold Plus.
Yeah, and so one of the things that they have done now is they have now made it illegal for
Horrible.
supporters to bring in material aid, which one of the
Goodness.
examples they gave is fuel, but technically that's food and water, or like literally anything
Blankets,
that is like physical.
blankets.
Now, sorry,
Fuck.
1 second. I need to clarify. Did they mandate this, or is it now some sort of law?
Because it's a state of
Yes.
emergency, the Charter of Rights in Ottawa is suspended, and the police have been given the authority to charge people that go and give material aid, basically a charge for like aiding illegal activity.
I feel
So
like
is
not
this
sure
that's
how
like a
this-
trespass charge?
pretty sure
So
this shit
I'm
will
not
never
sure how
fly in
that's-
court.
Well,
never
I mean,
gonna fly.
to aid illegal activity has to take place to begin with, and the convoy hasn't necessarily been deemed illegal yet. So, like, you'd have to fight that all out in court, but like most people don't have the time or money to do that.
Even
that's
if it
gonna
gets
deter
deemed
some people.
illegal, even if they do deem it illegal, like it's the
Yeah.
government being mad that someone
They're-
is disagreeing with them.
They're
It's
trying
a
to
temper
do what they're
tantrum,
trying to
sure.
do because, like, we've shown disdain for the government. Now they're trying to return the favor, and
So-
in a way
Yes.
that they can't.
But our disdain for the government has been going and honking horns and waving Canada flags and crowding
Which is now
overpasses.
illegal.
How many episodes?
Yes.
Honking horns is now illegal.
Yes,
Yes.
I was trying to say
Not
that too. They
as-
just before we came on today, they
Yeah.
Revolt against Clown World. Fight
Yeah.
the honks
So-
with bigger, louder honks.
So,
So-
my parents
Yes.
are actually in Ottawa right now. We
Bigger
have
air
been
tanks.
alternating weekends to weekdays. And they said it's pretty fascinating because there was like a call by some of the truckers for people to just grab gas cans and come into the city, like to just go and inundate the city so that, like, what are they going to do?
And-
Give out millions of tickets, arrest millions of people? So, like, folks
Exactly.
came in, I was like, Dad, are these like empty gas cans or full gas cans? And he's like,
Doesn't
a little
matter.
bit of both.
They're,
People are just coming
they're
and like walking
juice
with gas
box
cans.
type water
Yeah,
dispensing
saw that
things.
too.
yeah,
Yeah, I
exactly.
saw
Well, and,
too.
and that's what I've seen. There was a video of a gentleman walking around with a gas can filled with Gatorade
Yeah,
Mhm.
and an
Yeah.
air
he
horn,
was drinking out of
and
it.
he's
Yeah.
drinking
Yeah.
out of it. So, and there was a meme that came out that was put through the group. It was like, everyone that is around, walk through Ottawa with a gas can. You don't even need the gas, just walk
Yeah.
through with a gas
Yeah.
can. And that
Yeah,
is
no,
Water
brilliant.
bottle drink box sort of thing.
If
Exactly.
they, if, honestly,
Yeah.
like I said, that little stunt they pulled last night, that's literally just that is just a little TV op for feel good
Yeah.
op for the
But
news,
so, I
because
mean,
a 20 liter jerry can does not even move the gauge on one of those trucks. And
No,
I
Well-
watched
No,
today.
but what it is though is they're trying to incite the violence. That's what they're
Oh,
trying
absolutely,
to do. They're trying
absolutely.
to get
Exactly.
they're trying to get the people
100%.
who are there to get violent. And I can
Mhm.
tell you that when that happened in Ottawa, there was some serious emotions, let's say, in Winnipeg, where everybody's starting to get like, what's going on? What's going on? Are we gonna like
Mhm.
do we need to step this up? And thank goodness the organizers there
Yeah,
just
there's like,
calmed
relax.
everybody down, said, no, it's fine, don't worry about it. Like,
Listen, like I
this
said,
means nothing,
they've
we're
got
going on.
I've already seen them. They're rolling in. They're coming in. There's trucks, like literally. There's B trains. There's tanker trucks, fuel
Yeah.
trucks rolling in there in the middle of the convoy. They know what they're doing. I think
Yeah.
these people that have set this up were about, like they said, they're about 5 steps ahead
well,
at all
and so,
times here.
I mean, hearing the
Yeah.
the organizers of the Ottawa event speak on this, they're like, we're not worried about it. All this has done is actually given everyone on the ground a morale boost. Because
Yeah.
the thing that we thought was going to happen is happening, and we're not worried about it. We've got a plan in place for this, which, like, I hope is true. But either way, like, good for all the people on the ground that did not buy into this and play along and act violently or anything. And just like, whatever,
Yeah,
fucking,
have the
like,
cans. Take
take
'em.
them. Like,
Yeah.
just
Well,
'cause-
and from my understanding, based on the one video that I watched from one of the guys, like Cat King, he's kind of,
Yeah.
pretty in there involved. And he was saying, he's like, it's purple fuel that they came for. So there's obviously somebody telling them that purple fuel,
Yeah.
and those that don't know, like,
Yeah.
that's farm use only.
Oh,
right?
you mean the red?
So
You mean the red diesel?
yeah.
Dyed diesel, yeah.
Dyed.
Purple fuel.
Well,
Yeah.
But
yeah,
again,
so
how are they
it's
going to
like-
know if
Well,
they don't
they-
like? But that's, yeah,
So
someone's got to be
figure that
narking.
somebody is, they figure that somebody is like internally feeding this information. But I was actually at that site that they raided. Okay, I was there like 4 hours before they showed up, And let me tell you, I tried to do a live on my Instagram, and cell service down there is shit because all the
Weird.
towers are so overloaded. No, everybody is doing so
many
much.
people.
Yeah, everybody's doing so many lives, and yeah, don't get me wrong.
I
like,
can't believe that
Ottawa
300
has-
extra people in downtown Ottawa are upsetting the cell
Overloading,
service.
overloading the system.
Overloading the
It's
cell
weird.
towers, yeah.
I know, it's crazy. It's crazy.
It's
But
almost
like,
like there's more.
I walked into that encampment, and it's the coolest thing ever. Like, literally, trucks are parked. You walk in, they have an information tent that you can go to and ask anything you'd like.
What?
And then there's a tent that you go over, and it's like, this is for the volunteers. Come and check us out. And then this one is just for the staff and truckers. And this one is where all the food is. And
Here's your
that's right
free
beside
Fuck Trudeau
all-
sticker.
So
Yeah,
what you're
and-
You
saying
should have
is
gone
that
there,
There's
Pierre.
3
So-
saunas. And when I was
but-
there, a dude was removing snow with his truck. And I'm like, you guys have a town. You guys have like an organized town. And there's
In
like
case
a
you didn't know,
fuel
trucks
truck-
do everything. Just in case you didn't
Yeah.
know.
so the truckers are more organized than government.
Yes,
No,
Yes.
like
so
they had a
maybe
fuel
not more
testing
organized,
station.
but they
but
cost less.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah, it's crazy.
Amazing.
And then I was talking to a couple of girls that were there from Niagara, and they just finished talking to a family that are like homeschooling their kids in the cab of their truck. You know,
That's
and
awesome.
they've like connected all of these
Yeah.
families.
I
who are
bet you
like,
they
"Oh, yeah,
test
we're
higher than anybody in the
homeschooling."
public system.
Yeah. Well, that and
Uh,
like so. Just to get back to the dyed diesel thing, because Chris is making a comment here that dyed diesel is okay for farm vehicles and generators, and they have both there. Yes,
Exactly.
and possession of dyed diesel in and of itself is not a crime.
Only in a
It's
commercial
only-
highway vehicle.
Exactly. You're if it's
Well,
not
and
a
it's
farm
personal
vehicle.
transporting.
highway vehicle too.
It's-
If it's in your, if
it's-
it's in your
I
truck,
don't think it's
Yeah.
and you
strictly
don't have the
commercial.
F, if you don't have the F part on your
Farm
vehicle.
plated, right? Like
Well,
if
so
I
what
purchase
they
the
were
diesel
going-
and I don't have a farm plate and I
Yeah.
put dyed diesel in my tank, it's
Yeah,
illegal.
it's only once it goes into
Into
the
the
fuel
tank.
tank of a thing that is not authorized for.
Yes.
Yeah.
Because like
farm,
if you had a
farm
farm,
plated.
but
Yeah,
if you had
farm
a farm,
plated or generator, whatever,
but if
is
you
fine.
have a farm and
Yeah.
and I take my regular vehicle to your farm and pick up dyed fuel to drive it to my farm because you had extra and I needed some. That's not illegal for me to transport it via my vehicle. It's only illegal if I put it into the fuel tank.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That's what they were claiming though, is that
And
it's
so they're
because
pulling
there's,
dyed
like,
diesel out of
ships- yeah.
the beds of pickup trucks
Yeah.
that run on regular gas. So it's
Yeah.
not like it could even go into that vehicle.
Well, it can. It just won't run
Yeah.
very
Well,
well
it's
or very
very-
long.
Very far.
Yeah.
It's
It'll
very
run
specific,
fine.
like,
Yeah.
If you get caught, you get fined.
No, no, I'm talking
Talking
about putting
about-
diesel in a gas engine. That's a different
It's-
thing. Don't
it's not gonna
don't
work
worry
so
about
good.
your.
But-
Okay, sorry. I was
Gas
thinking
engines
a
don't run on
diesel
soy, Pierre.
Yeah.
Crying out loud.
But
Sorry.
maybe
I can tell you,
I do like this idea that they are going to try to have all of these towed, because so far this has worked out very poorly in Alberta, because
Every tow
both
truck's
towing
told them to go
services
get
in Alberta
fucked.
were like, yeah, we're not doing this.
Yeah.
Southern Ontario, the same thing. There's
Same
hardly
thing.
any
oh,
heavy
even
equipment
all
tow trucks
the
around here.
Ottawa
Ottawa's
guys
the
are
same
like,
thing.
forget that.
Well, they're all
Yeah.
saying no. So
No,
if
all
the
Ottawa guys said they have COVID.
which is funny.
Yes.
But I'm
See you in
curious
10
if I'm curious if the government or the municipal government in Ottawa, if they understand how diesel engines work. If you take away all of this fuel and you have no heavy recovery vehicles,
They're going to sit there. for a
they're
very long
not
time.
going to ever move again.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, but this has been the thing that's been, I think,
Right? Like, you're not just going to put diesel in it and fire it up. When it runs out, it's done.
They're very hard to start up. Can confirm.
Yeah.
I have to
Yeah.
go.
Right, so,
I have
like-
to go out all the time.
I mean,
No
this
heavy
is-
recovery vehicles and
Wait.
non-operable trucks. This is not going to go well.
guys, we are talking about folks that think that their eggs come from the grocery store.
Well, I mean,
That
their eggs do come from the
milk
grocery
comes
store.
from
They're just
brown
missing
cows.
the other
Yeah.
14
Yeah.
steps prior to the
In
grocery
between,
store.
or in like
I mean,
14
We are
different
also
trucks as well.
talking people that are
Yes,
taking
drink soy.
But
Like-
we're also talking about people that think a third jab for
It's going to work. Yeah.
Yeah.
Or
Is
it's going to
no,
fall.
no.
These are the
It's
same
the
people that
fourth
think
one.
that
The
if they
fourth
take away all
one's
of our
gonna work.
guns, it's going to be safer. They just
Yeah.
haven't banned enough guns yet to
Oh.
stop criminals.
Okay.
They just
so
need to.
let's-
It's the same logic. It's
Yeah.
if we take away all the guns, then criminals won't have them. If we give everyone their experimental injections, then no one will get sick.
So
And if
on
we
the
take
gun
away
same
all of the
money-
diesel fuel, all of
If
the
we take away all of the
protesters
diesel
will
fuel,
go
we'll definitely get all of the trucks moved.
So
Well,
what
but
they
this is-
Ottawa asked the
So-
military if they would come and help and move the
Also
trucks.
told to get fucked.
And
Yeah.
well,
Yeah.
what they said was, we don't want to move in because we're afraid that they're armed.
One, I mean, maybe they
military.
ought to be.
So
Well,
the
it doesn't matter.
military,
It's the fact that
the-
so it's
the
it's-
military
in the States,
is
it's the Second
worried
Amendment, right?
about
Like,
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, but
We
the
don't have that.
military
same
is
thing. No,
worried
but
about
it's- if you're
however amount of trucks down in downtown Ottawa. The military is worried about moving in because of them being armed.
I don't
whatever
blame
that
sort.
was just
right.
that was just their press release. They
What were
don't move in
you
because
saying,
it's
Peter?
military against the
Yeah.
people.
But
But,
it's-
so the
it's-
Second Amendment in the States, right? It's you arm the people. The people have the right to bear arms, so the government can't, or they're always a check against the government because if people
Yeah.
have the same arms as the government, you can't oppress the people. The people
Is there
have
an
the power.
option where I could have significantly better arms in the government?
Well, it's not hard.
If you have
you
money,
already
yes,
do
yeah.
for the most
Yeah.
part.
Yeah.
Yeah, but we need more.
That all depends.
I
I
want
also want
what
the vehicles.
contract
yes,
were.
that's what
Accuracy
I want
through
the
vehicles and the
volume.
full auto.
I want the
if-
I want the armored stuff.
But the
and
military
whatnot,
made a good
and the
point
fly- and the
when
fly
they said
bits.
that, though. That's what I'm getting at. Is the military made a good point because if the truckers were armed, they're most of probably 99% of them don't have any guns along, and I'd be surprised if anybody brought one just because
Technically, in
it's a gun show.
Canada, it's illegal to bring a weapon at all to a protest. So hopefully,
There you
none
go.
of them have a weapon.
Yes, but
Including a pocket knife that you normally carry everywhere where you're 100% legal.
I did that
I don't
today.
know if
Oops.
anyone in Ottawa carries a pocket knife. It's Ottawa, bud.
Yeah,
It's a pocket soy.
it's a spoon for just spooning
We'll go
their
back to
latte. But yeah, no,
Pocket soy.
But
yeah,
it was,
but that's
it was-
brilliant
but
though.
What I'm getting at, it was an interesting choice of excuse for the military. Was we're
Yeah.
afraid they're armed because they're saying two things. They're saying, screw you, we're not coming. And they're saying, hey, the people still have the power, whether you like it or not, because some of them still have guns. And it's the way it's supposed to be in the Constitution. Our Constitution is that the people have the power, right? Like
Well, and
we
if
don't
you
have the
go
gun
back,
rights, but
well, but see, if you go back far enough to the like the original like Magna Carta, as long as you were Protestant, you were allowed to bear arms. We've just removed that when we got like the newer versions of it.
The Protestant part or the arms part?
Both. Yeah, both.
I'm
My
Protestant.
favorite thing
It's
that
fine.
I'm all for protesting, especially with arms, but neither of those things are valid anymore, apparently. But no, it's funny though that the military did that, and I don't blame them though because like I've seen them shoot, so I wouldn't want to go up against civilians with guns either.
Similar
Did
vein,
actually
the military
practice.
also got told that the members are not to comment on their social media in any fashion about this or they will face reprimands.
So
You forgot a few words.
spent-
It's socialism.
Yeah, right. So I know, Andrew, you worked for the government in capacity at some point.
Allegedly.
Allegedly. I actually, because of COVID, I ended up having to leave my job at the government. It wasn't great. So not a big deal. But yeah, they tell you from the get-go that if you're involved in like any kind of political stuff, you can be fired. At the drop
Well, I
of
mean,
a
like as dumb as that is, at least it kind of makes sense because like you can't shit talk your employer. Which
Yeah,
like
you
if
can.
my employees were shit talking my company, I'd be like, get the fuck out of here.
Yeah,
My
but
employee
what
shit
they
talks
do
me all the
on
time.
what they do on their own time.
There's,
Not on the clock.
I think there's a
And
different
potentially-
expectation for members. For serving
Same
members of the
reason as-
military, there are different rules that apply.
Yeah. Oh,
It's
yeah, yeah.
Right?
I
The-
worked for like not. I worked.
Right, and I'm saying like
Yeah.
federal government
Yeah.
employees, provincial government employees, like other kinds of government. Yeah, what you do on your off hours is your business. The military is a
Well,
different.
but even that, like,
animal.
yeah,
Branch.
but that's the thing though, is like your off hours mean like if my employees go and like whatever, like they can bitch to their spouse about me all they want, I don't fucking care. But
I'm
if
sure
one
some of them do.
Absolutely. And I
I
fully
got it.
respect that. But the minute that one of them
Never.
goes to say like a media outlet or is
Yes.
like in the public square shit talking my company, even if it's a Saturday, fuck you, your ass is out the door. So that's the same thing. So like if you work for government, even in your spare time, if you were shit talking government, they kind of have a right to fire you.
I could see that argument if it was applied in a logically consistent fashion. If you worked for the government and you weren't then allowed to lobby the government, teachers unions, for example, if you worked for the government and then you weren't allowed to bargain collectively for your jobs, police officers unions, for example, if you provided essential services for your community and you weren't allowed to have some sort of a collective bargaining agreement, snowplow drivers, for example, if there were any of those situations where you were in a position where you were receiving taxpayer funding in order to perform a service for some level of government, and you were excluded from being able to advocate in your own interest, and yes, but we're not afforded those privileges in this country. So if you work for the government, I feel like if you're allowed to go and demand to get paid better or have more wages or have less working hours or whatever other thing the nurses are complaining about this week, then I feel like you should be equally entitled to complain about the conditions that you're working in. Just because it's disfavorable to the government, like that's not any different.
I think that's why there's a lot of like masked people that I ran into on Saturday as well, though. Because there are a lot of folks that work for the government that could.
I imagine that's true because I mean they're still people for the most part, politicians notwithstanding. Most of the.
Yeah. But what I've gathered from your whole statement there, Gavin, is you're too white. You work for a living. You try to make anything from your family. You should drink more soy.
You're missing out. Gavin also owns the means of production. Gavin is a capitalist. He not only works for a living, he employs people for a living.
So technically, I don't work for a living.
He is a slave master.
Yeah, I enslave other people to work for my means. Yeah, I'm the worst of the worst.
We're done the podcast. Find a 24-hour grocery store. Start drinking more soy.
I don't think that's
by next Monday. We'll have that
hard no, bud. Hard pass.
We'll have 2 less Nazis.
But if I do that, how am I supposed to get my 90-minute ruck in?
Yeah, I find it really interesting that the workers have finally risen up, and the socialists hate it.
But it's not in the way that they want.
Workers of the world unite. No, not like that. You're doing it wrong.
No, not like that, stupid.
Yeah, come on.
You're supposed to control the means of production. No, you're doing it wrong.
Yeah, because this affects my life now. Oh.
I am mildly inconvenienced by honking.
Yes, you do the honk. I decided to live in the gooch of Canada. Right?
Which one is this?
Toronto is the butthole, and Quebec is
Geography Lessons with Pierre should be its own YouTube channel.
Right? So Ottawa is sort of the gooch, right? Toronto's the butthole. The province of Quebec is the other thing. But so you live really close. So you live really close to the important part of the gooch, which would sort of be Parliament in this
scenario. Metaphor is not good for
identify
I'm not done. Right? And then you worry about people going to Hong Kong.
I think
yeah, but you live in the middle of a fucking urban center, right? You live close to Parliament, like wouldn't be any different than living downtown Toronto. And
there will be multiple protests with multiple inconveniences, and that's kind of what happens when you live near that. Yeah.
But you decided to live, within spitting distance of Parliament, right? So you decided to pay a stupid amount of money for rent, have no peace and fucking quiet because of the amount of bars,
honking,
But okay, so
everything.
To be fair, honestly, those folks have been so quiet and isolated for 2 years, right? It's like going from this insane isolated shutdown, you're not allowed to do shit, to this like
downtown
giant
Toronto
block party. Yeah, this giant block party.
But
and I mean, I don't support them, but you're right.
but they also drink a lot of soy lattes.
Yeah, right. They've been
So-
milking too many almonds, right?
Yeah, they found the teats on them. We haven't, because the little teats, right? So that's the thing, right? You want to live in a giant urban center. You want to live on the 20th floor of a building, and you don't want to complain that your neighbor or downtown Ottawa, where the market's not too far from where the building is. I don't know downtown that great, because even when I was a lot young, well, not a lot younger, I guess I'll just say younger than what I am now, I didn't go downtown often, but that's the bar scene, the dance clubs, the strip clubs, the fancy places where politicians go, like all that stuff, a bunch of hotels. So you decided to live on top of a bar and you're going to complain about noises? That's your own problem.
Well,
that's your own prerogative. That's your fault.
In these people's defense, if they lived out in the country, they would complain about the animals on the farm having sex.
Probably.
Yes, but
They're the same
Guys.
people.
So
that all depends. Are people doing the sex on the farm?
Much like the air
Yes.
horns, it's none of their business.
yeah.
Honk, honk, bitch.
I Liz just sent a message. I hope everyone else saw it. Absolutely, yes. This is exactly why they're trying to drop the internet censorship bill right now, to quiet people like us, so that they've already got the regular media in their pocket. Now is the time to come in and shut all of us up, so they can shut it all down. Like, they're able to shut down GoFundMe, so they'll probably be able to shut down other things like that.
But it's also like super sneaky and a sketch time. They're like,
Oh, you mean like
now?
Oh, you mean
Well,
like
dropping
this
it-
big
like,
events happen
in
and like
Alabama.
everybody's looking this way?
dropping
It's called
an
the
order
Kansas
in
City Shuffle.
council to ban rifles in the middle
Yeah.
of all of this thing when we're not really sure what's going on, and then just out of
So
nowhere
if
they
you-
do that. Yeah,
It's like the
so-
carbon tax and the first lockdown all at the same
it's
time.
it's their status quo. It's their playbook. It's the
Yeah,
let's do something over here, and then we'll slowly, quietly drop this thing here.
It's the Kansas City
and-
Shuffle. You look in
Yeah.
one way, they do go another.
Hey, that's a good movie. We're not,
Right,
we're
like-
not shit talking that
Oh,
movie. We're not.
We've got a shit ton of money that goes to regular media to shut them up. And look, everyone is playing along and towing the line and not talking about all of this stuff. And the minute that they do, it's like, it's very understated, or it's just shit talking us completely. Like, it's either underrepresenting the numbers that are out there or overrepresenting like the shitheads. Because when you have 1.5 million fucking people at a place, there are bound to be some shit disturbers. And when you track a lot of that back, it's either completely blown out of water, like and exaggerated, or it's like, but no, this was actually not a protester, but like a local shithead that's always a shithead,
Yeah.
completely unrelated, or like an
he's a fed.
antagonizer. Yeah. It's
Yeah.
if you like 1.5 million people over 10 days, and there's been 60 investigations. So that doesn't mean that there are 60 arrests or anything. It just means that 60 calls have been put in 10 days for 1.5 million people for something. What
I
does
hope
Ottawa
that-
normally get in investigations in a day, a week, 10 days? Like,
Apparently it's a
is
lot
it
more.
60? Probably.
So
Apparently it's a lot more. They're saying
So, like,
crime is at the lowest it's been in
there
several
have
weeks.
been arrests for people, but I'm sure some of it is people that were like this old man that like couldn't get his ID out of his wallet fast enough, so they were just like, fuck you, you're arrested. Or people that are like, no, you can't take my diesel fuel out of my fucking truck because that's mine. You said we have until midnight. It's 7 o'clock. Why are you taking my shit that's mine that I already own? It's not being brought in, it's already here. No. And they arrest them, and now the papers are saying, oh, criminal charges have been laid. And it's like, well, but what? Like, maybe there's just some guy dealing
One guy
crack
didn't
on the
show his
corner,
ID.
completely unrelated, or
Two
it's
guys didn't
something
show
that
their
is
ID. That's
related,
literally all it was.
but it's a counter protester that was being a dick and urinating on stuff, or standing on the war memorial, or doing all of those things. So a lot of this stuff, like after the fact, is proven to be true. But even if it was the fucking protesters themselves that did all of the shitty things, so even if all 60 hate crime allegations turn out to be true, not that I'm saying they're right, but even if they turn out to be true, 60 out of 1.5 million people in Ottawa is inconsequential.
It's almost as effective as a certain vaccination.
I would
And
say even less so.
I was thinking the same.
so
Yeah.
I know where one, I'm hoping one investigation came from, because my cousin filed a hate crime police report against Pierre Trudeau with the Ottawa police. You can do it right online.
Nice.
Mhm.
Well, and then so like at the Toronto one, there was a guy, and I was there. When I saw what happened, I didn't know that he got arrested, but I was right there. A guy let off one of those like colored smoke bombs in the middle of like this, like there was a DJ on the back of a truck playing music, and it was awesome. And he like
Yeah.
a
Is the
red.
music any good?
It was okay. There's a lot of people singing "Oh Canada" over top of the shitty music, but like he lets off like a red smoke bomb. So that guy got arrested for releasing a noxious substance. And then he like resisted arrest on top of that. So like that's the one arrest in Toronto that happened on Saturday.
It's weird they didn't
It's a lot
report
of
that.
those smoke sticks in Ottawa.
Yeah,
Yeah, but
like I
like-
was downtown and they were playing was
But
I
that's
don't
the
know,
thing though. You look at the
yeah, it's
should he have done that? Okay, like could you maybe like sure it's like it smelled funny, but like it's not really a noxious substance, but that's like they're using every excuse they can. And then when the media reports it, they're not like guy lets off smoke bomb, it's guy releases noxious substance into crowd.
Without
Yes.
giving anybody some cool ideas, but like, where are all the stupid environmentalists that are like, hey, there's so many trucks out here. Like, my lungs are a little wrecked because of the high def diesel exhaust from the last couple of days. But I'm like, all of a sudden they went quiet. Where are all
Welcome to
these
my
little
life.
nutters?
no. So
Yeah.
they incorporated DEF fluid in the exhaust system to help with you. So it counteracts what you're talking about. You must drink too much soy.
Oh, yeah. No, I've been milking the almonds pretty hard the last few days. So.
Really
Yeah.
hard to do that. They're
So-
such tiny nipples.
As we run out of almond and soy things, do we have any hot takes? Because this is going to be a long episode.
Yeah. So if you can't find us on YouTube because we talk too much, just find us on Soy Boys.
No.
Only soys? Yeah.
Only soys, soy boy,
No.
anything soy related, but not .com. It'll be like .dude.
Dot
Yeah.
biz.
Dot
Everyone's
Pierre.
all about the
Yeah,
dot biz.
It'll be something. It won't be .com. Try whatever you think sounds really male gender oriented, and you'll find us. In case you pick that off YouTube.
My only hot take on this is basically what we've already said, is that like I think that this is the government through the police trying to antagonize the protesters into doing the violence so that the government can return the violence in greater fashion and end this thing and make the protesters look bad. That's
Pretty much.
and I'm very proud of everyone that is there for not falling for that, and I hope they continue to not fall for it.
Yeah. 100%.
That's fair. All right, let's go around. Maybe we'll start with Peter. Where can people find you if they want to get in touch or find the show or interact with us? Any of those things would be good.
All of those things you can do on the Discord. I'm there as well at Wild Turkey, and some numbers because Discord's weird. Or on the gram or Twitter at the Moran Life.
Pierre, if everybody wants a spicy t-shirt, can you help them out?
Yes, I can. Yeah, off the wall customizing. We actually took Bookface page off because Bookface is Bookface stuff.
Bunch of commies.
Yeah, but I'm on the Discord for the Patriot podcast as well as my lovely wife, which you'll probably deal with her more than me. email off the wall customizing, or if you look back at a few episodes where I don't have funny stuff behind me, you can find my Instagram if for some reason you want to interact with me. I strongly disagree with that, but you can try.
Neat sales pitch. Okay.
So,
Don't at me,
so
bro. Don't
just
at
to
me.
clarify,
Don't fucking
right?
at me.
Off the wall customizing at Gmail, all that other stuff.
Yeah, got
can
that.
almost
Buy
guarantee
buy
90
shirts, but
98% of it
shelter.
is all going to be interactions with my wife. She's fantastic. She's lovely. She'll be nice. If you want to deal with me, go back, look through a bunch of stuff. You'll find my Instagram. I don't post shit, but yeah, we can argue there.
perfect.
Argue on the Discord.
Yeah, I'm on there too. Don't worry.
Yeah.
But yeah.
Dave, where can everybody find you?
I'm at Diesel6223 on the grams, and then I am in the Canadian Patriot Podcast Discord as well. Feel free to message me at any time. Also, Diesel622 on there, I believe. And
Sure,
yeah,
you're our only Diesel on there.
that's it.
Liz, do you have any kind of social media? Do you want people to try and get in touch with you? Would you prefer to just be left alone?
No dick
I don't
pics.
really- Yeah, that's like without having to say anything. That's a given. I'm on Instagram at Liz_Fawcett 9876. Super creative, and I've recently started tweeting because that's like my external diary. So I get on like rants. Nobody follows me, so it's perfect.
Into the ether.
Have you tried doing a podcast?
She has actually
now.
this evening. Yeah.
Yeah.
Once
Yeah.
it was a
I've
good
done a
time.
little-
So I heard it
done
was
a-
a good time.
Yeah, I know.
Before we carry on, we should say
Oh, dear.
for all those people that think, oh yeah, I know, all those people that listen to CP
Comes
or
the
whatever,
soy.
we do have, including this episode, 335 episodes you could backlog and put it on their smart TV.
Are we doing anything special for 338?
I don't know. I feel like maybe it's time to do some more gun stuff. We haven't done a lot of gun stuff
Yeah,
lately.
I like
True.
that.
I got a new gun that's going to Cerakoting at the end of the week. It's going to be
Yeah, but
sweet.
is it a 338?
No, save it.
No.
Save it. Build
Then
the
you can't
suspense
talk
for the
about it.
audience.
It's true.
If
New
that doesn't
build.
work, build contempt.
We'll take after
New
it.
build.
If it's not Dave, you can't talk about it. You're not
It's
allowed.
very long. Very long.
So she said.
It is.
There's
Exact-
bait there that I
Thank
am
you,
refusing
thank
to
you,
take
thank you.
because
Yeah.
So she said,
I
said, give me
swear.
6
It was,
inches
I
to
set
make
it up
hurt.
for all of you. Only half of you took it, but it's
And
okay.
this is a 2-hour episode now, so that is
You're welcome.
She
an
said,
hour
"Yeah,
and 55
me
more minutes of cuddling than you're used to.
It was a good
Yeah.
panel, guys. It was a good panel.
This can't
Liz, I don't. Did we cut you off? Did you have any other? You good? Just
No.
Instagram, Twitter. This is like I went off the crazy
Instagram and
train.
twatter.
I'm never
No,
coming
I'm
back.
loving the crazy train. I'm loving the crazy train. It's good.
Excellent.
Gavin,
Yeah.
that leaves you. Where can everybody get in touch?
The best place to find me is on the gram, Urbex GTA. Also, because Liz didn't do it, a shout out to her friend Amanda that listens to the show. She'll be upset that you didn't do that.
Sorry.
So I'm just making you look bad because,
Doesn't take
that's how I
much.
roll.
Hi, Amanda.
Doesn't take much.
But, yeah, find me there or maybe at a protest near you at some point in time.
He'll be the one with the gas mask.
Any word are they're going to be going back to Toronto this weekend? Just a quick.
Nothing yet, but
Okay.
I'll keep you posted.
It's only Monday,
Yeah.
Dave. Give it a day or two.
Okay. All right. All right.
If you've listened to us for this long, and I do mean long, you deserve a discount code. Go to ragnaroktactical.ca for all of your tactical accessories and first aid supplies, and use the discount code Patriot when you check out. You're literally taking money out of my child's college fund, but it's my way of saying thank you for listening to us for this long. Also, it allows me to write off the podcasting expenses as a advertising fee.
especially
you
with
can-
my drunk comments.
I'm probably going to be getting phone calls from the soy lobby looking for sponsorship money.
$20 is $20,
That's a
buddy.
lot of soy
You're
today.
welcome.
I was really hoping for the milk cartel, but I guess the soy lobby will have to do.
Yeah.
If you want to send us
with
some
the milk
hate mail, let us know how we're wrong. Let us know how we've offended you. Send me your hate mail, feedback at CanadianPatriotPodcast.com. If you want to come and argue with us, we could probably make that happen. If you want to argue with Pierre, I will definitely film it.
Yes, I'm down. I won't even wear pants.
We will not start the cameras until you're both a 6-pack deep, though. Standard
like
SOP.
we need to-
SOP.
Yeah, that's.
Come on, 5%, not the light stuff.
Yeah, I'll kick in for a 6-pack for that. That'd be worth it. I have to apologize to Rod Giltaca. We couldn't get Rod on the show this week. This was all about Ottawa, not Vancouver, so there was some scheduling mix-up. Well, next week, Rod. Sorry we had to bump you.
Thought it was about the roads.
Well, so the convoy started in Vancouver like a while ago, and there was a miscommunication. It's in Ottawa now, and yeah.
We'll get there. For all of our listeners out there in podcast land, I'd like to remind you that you are a small fringe minority with unacceptable views.